One man stood at the center of that war, and the enemy fell around him in heaps. The demons had never faced a human like him. He was Lucas Trauman, humanity's strongest 9-star mage. With a single 9-star spell, he wiped an entire legion out of existence. But his power drew something far more dangerous than demons. A demigod, one of the beings who rule the laws of this world. It claimed to be the god that humans praise. Lucas refused to bow. For the first time in his life, his magic failed. He could not gather a single thread of mana. This was the punishment for the sin of opposing a god. They sealed him in the abyss to doubt himself in the dark forever. 4,000 years later, a boy is beaten in an alley, the disgraced third son of the noble house Blake. They tell him he should have died a long time ago. Broken on the ground, he wishes for one thing, to be stronger. And in that instant, he hears a voice that should not exist. Far beneath the world, in the abyss, the sealed mage opens his eyes. In the endless dark of the abyss, the mage has lost count of the years, a few hundred, maybe a few thousand. Then a stranger's wish reaches him, the wish to be stronger. Above, that wish belongs to a boy whose own father is casting him out. The house of Blake has no place for a son too weak to grow stronger. The boy's name is Frey. Alone in his room, Frey decides he is done living. But faced with the end, he learns how terrifying death really is. Far below, the mage makes a vow. He will endure this hell as long as it takes to strike back at the demigod. Frey gives up and reaches for death. It's all my fault, he tells himself. I was the one born without wings. Then the mage answers him. If I were you, I would have died long ago. As their two despairs touch, the ancient seal begins to crack. To Frey, the stranger's presence feels like warm sunlight after a lifetime of cold. With his last breath, Frey wishes to be reborn with mighty wings, to fly above the world that broke him. Then a new voice rises from the boy's body. I'm finally back. 4,000 years. That was long. Frey Blake, the weakest human. Meet Lucas Trauman, once the strongest mage alive. From now on, you are me, and I am you. You gave me freedom, so I will give you your wings. He turns to the sky and marks his enemy, the demigod, the one they hail as God. Just wait, it won't be long. See you soon. The night after his rebirth, the mage walks the ruined outskirts in a body that is not his own. He sits and reaches for his power, the way he has for 4,000 years. But Frey's frail body can barely hold a fraction of what he once was. So the strongest mage alive does something he never had to before. He waits and swallows his rage. Piece by piece, he rebuilds his foundation until he claws his way back to 5-star. First, he purges the poison rotting inside the boy, the pills and the years of neglect. He is quietly stunned by how much suffering this child had swallowed whole. Then, starving, he finds the academy canteen. After 4,000 years without a meal, everything tastes like a miracle. Sitting in a classroom with children, at his age, is almost unbearable. But he needs it. Frey's memories alone cannot close a 4,000-year gap in the world. Meanwhile, the bullies who tormented Frey are furious that he survived at all. One of his old tormentors is already waiting for him. Finally here, buddy? The next morning, one of those tormentors corners him and demands his lunch tickets. And the mage understands. These are the ones who drove the boy to give up on living. But this time, the hand gripping him is the one that trembles. With a single motion, Lucas throws him across the hall. The bully slams to the floor, out cold. The students cannot believe that frail Frey did this. Lucas only sighs, a little embarrassed to have roughed up a child. A professor named Dio arrives to see what happened, and finds something impossible on the boy, traces of martial skill woven with mana. Later the class falls to Professor Kevin, a man far more interested in the girls than the lesson. He is surprised to see Frey attend at all, and decides to make an example of him. His trap is a question no failing student could answer. Name 3 relics of the magic warrior king Kasajin. Frey only smiles. Did you say Kasajin? 4,000 years ago, before the abyss, the mage had a friend. Kasajin, a warrior whose fists leveled mountains. The two of them went back a long way. Kasajin lived by one iron creed. A martial artist must see women as mere rocks. That memory belongs to the man now trapped inside a boy, Lucas Trauman. In class, Lucas is quietly amused that his muscle-headed friend became a legend. When the professor corners Frey with an impossible question, the trainee Isabel speaks up to defend him. But Frey answers it himself, the Tiger King's glove, the giant's belt, the Gale necklace. He even complains about the man's terrible taste in fashion, as if he knew him personally. The professor, stunned, has no choice but to admit he is right. Then the lecturer turns on Isabel and tries to drag her away. So Frey throws Kasajin's own creed back in his face. Those ruled by their desires degrade into beasts. Next question. Frey answers every question the professor throws at him. Every single one. Even ancient history that the Academy's own teachers have forgotten. Then he asks, almost bored, if there is anything else. He is getting hungry. The professor cannot understand how a failing boy knows events from 4,000 years ago. Beaten, he ends the class. The top trainee, Isabel, is fascinated and starts trailing after Frey. "Geez, why are you following me?" "Try starving for 4,000 years, he tells her. "After that, every meal is a blessing." She presses him. How does he know so much about the Light Ages? And Lucas realizes something is wrong. In 4,000 years, magic has not advanced, it has decayed. He wonders if the demigod's hand is behind it. Isabel names the 4 great masters of that golden age. The strongest of them, the mage she dreams of rivaling, is Lucas Trauman. She has no idea he is sitting right in front of her. Today's class is combat, one-on-one magic duels, and to keep things fair, nobody is allowed to cast anything stronger than a 1-star spell. The new professor lays down the rules. These are real fights, and if you get hurt, that is entirely your own problem. David and his crony, meanwhile, devote their full attention to the lesson being how gorgeous the professor is. Even his friend is disturbed that his taste in women runs about 20 years old. Then the first match is announced, trainee David versus trainee Frey. David has been waiting for this moment for a long time. He intends to take it slow. But the professor has eyes only for Frey. She freezes because she recognizes the soul buried inside him, and her own soul, she admits, is far older than her young face suggests. Then she does something nobody in the arena expects. She asks the disgraced trainee out to dinner. Frey makes it interesting. If he wins this match, the dinner will be his treat. She finds the idea hilarious. A 1-star trainee beating the 3-star David. Still, she takes the bet. David is not laughing. Eaten alive by jealousy, he promises to start by destroying Frey's vocal cords. The match begins, and David unleashes his family's signature power, Stone Rage. The extraction is agonizing and will take a full month. Ben-Young ends the first session gasping and wrecked. When she wails that he is trying to kill her, Frey only smiles. Did he not warn her? It will be a literal hell. Frey spars with Pien, the 4th honor, and shrugs off every punch. She feels like she is hitting a solid boulder. His verdict is blunt. Her skills are worse than a second-rate martial artist. He picks apart her white king fist as plain, textbook martial arts with no real tricks to it. But that, he says, is its strength. Because it is typical, it is reliable, even if opponents can read the patterns over a long fight. There are no shortcuts for a magic warrior, only one hard step at a time. Frey offers to help her take those steps very, very quickly. The training that follows is merciless. Pien, wrecked and shaking, begs him to stop, or just to kill her. For Gisellen, he has a gift, a mithril dagger from the Age of Light, with skills sealed inside it. One glance at the calluses on Gisellen's hands tells Frey the truth. He is a secretly trained swordsman. It is vision magic, a spell only his bloodline can wield, and a clever way to smuggle a 3-star attack past the 1-star rule. The crowd is stunned that he would use it just to bully someone. Only a 5-star mage, but paired with that blade, he could break through as a magic swordsman. By nightfall, all 3 leaders are destroyed, too sore to lift their arms or even manage a trip to the bathroom. Frey, bright and cheerful, announces that evening training will resume right after a relaxing 5-minute meal. Then Azek, an honor returning from a mission, storms in. Seeing the leaders half dead, he assumes an assassin killed them and attacks Frey. A barely conscious Ben-Yang stops him. That man is no assassin. He is the new Rounder. She introduces Frey Blake, Rounder of the Trauman Rings, and his assistant Isabel Trisnine. Azek can only gape. This young stranger is a Rounder. Azek apologizes for attacking him, and Frey waves it off. In his shoes, he would have done the same. Then Azek turns to Adelia, gleefully claiming to be her boss now. She offers to kill him instead. Azek reports his mission. He tracked the magic warrior king's successor deep into the Elflands, the Raynol's forest, and made contact. Frey answers with the most basic spell in the entire curriculum, Magic Missile. The man refused flatly. He knows about the demigods, but wants no part of the circles or the fight. His only goal is the peak of martial arts. Frey decides to go recruit this uncontrollable warrior himself. The road there passes through Pilot, right beside the Blake house, his own homeland. Azek warns that the successor is far too dangerous. Frey says he understands, and plans to leave immediately. He hands his duties to Isabel. The circle is still fragile, and someone must hold it together while he is gone. Isabel promises to keep in contact and to rush to his side the instant anything goes wrong. Frey smiles at how far she has come. She has grown a lot. Before leaving, he warns the circle about their new taskmaster. Isabel looks gentle, but when angered, she becomes the devil incarnate. He reminds them of the competition in a month. Lose even one match, and they know exactly what hell awaits them. The whole circle roars that they will dominate. Frey tells them he looks forward to their reunion. David nearly collapses laughing, facing a storm of boulders with a single glowing marble. Far away, an old promise stirs. Frey once crowned the reborn phoenix ruler of the mountains, guardian of his lost friend's dungeon. And now, the phoenix awakens in a new human form, blazing to life as she remembers the man who told her to become their master. On the road to the Renal's forest, Frey reshapes his own face with magic, building a disguise. He crafts a full fake identity, Kane Rickstone, a 26-year-old C-rank mercenary, registered as a 3-star magician. The reason is his destination. Pilot sits in Blake family territory, and rumors already swirl that Isaka Blake dealt with the demigods. He will settle with the Blake house one day, but not now. He has no wish to collide with them yet. As he enters Pilot, his own hometown, a strange familiarity stirs. The old Frey's feelings are still reacting from somewhere inside him. The mountain roads to the Elflands are long and dangerous, best crossed by carriage rather than on foot. So his plan takes shape: escort the peddlers who trade with the elves every month, which is exactly why he chose a mercenary cover. But that escort job requires B rank, and Kane is only C, so he asks to take an advancement exam right away. Then the glowing marble becomes a pillar of light tall enough to split the sky. There are 2 exam types, a slow commission or the proof, a raw display of skill that no one has passed in 10 years. Frey picks the proof and asks to begin immediately. The test is simple: blast a wall layered with the guild's 5-star protection magic, supposedly unbreakable. Learning the drunk guildmaster is A rank, Frey cheekily asks if smashing the wall bumps him straight to A rank too. Then he casually casts a 5-star flame ball, and Irene barely has time to register the spell. The unbreakable wall is obliterated. Kane Rickstone is promoted, not to B, but all the way to A rank. With his new rank in hand, the road to the peddlers and the Raynal's forest is finally open. The impressed guildmaster Dunk praises Kane and offers to recruit him, but Frey has no interest in joining any group. Dunk agrees a mercenary this skilled can take the escort request and promises to tell the peddlers about him. Then the gossip: his father, Isaka Blake, master of the 5th magic tower, has holed up at the mansion for 2 months and may lose his post. It swallows the stone rage whole and throws David clear across the arena, out cold before he even lands. Frey just won his match, and his dinner date. Frey plays the eager newcomer, buying rounds of beer and snacks to loosen the older mercenaries' tongues. One of them recalls a friend's story. Far too many carriages have been rolling into the Blake mansion, more than any provisions would need. And from inside those carriages, he swears he heard voices that sounded like screams. The word sacrifices flashes through Frey's mind. It is exactly what happened at the Apostles' Village. The escort's leader introduces herself, Captain Alcone, a 5-star magician who will run the Raynal's forest job. She warns him not to relax. The peddler group that took the same road last month was completely wiped out. The killer was an undying being, and lately such undead have been turning up across the continent far too often. Among the escorts is an old A-rank spiritualist known as Green Wind Siax. That night, Siax approaches Frey, having sensed the energy of a rare spirit, his hidden Darkming, radiating from him. Frey admits the undying being is why he came. Such a thing near the Raynal's forest has not happened in 1,000 years. David is flat on the ground and his voice will not come out. The bully who promised to torture Frey cannot even manage a scream. Siax eyes him. He talks as if he has lived 1,000 years himself. Frey nearly chokes on the words. Then Siax reveals his own secret. He too wears illusion magic, and beneath it, he is an elf. A scout brings bad news. A group of undead has risen to the southwest, right in the caravan's path. Captain Alcone takes Frey and Siax out to scout the threat directly. Siax senses something faint in the air, divine power. Frey immediately fears a demigod. But the trace is far too weak for that. It is demigod tainted, yet not a demigod itself. They reach a field of slaughter. Undead that were shambling half an hour ago now lie destroyed. And it was the work of a single person who wiped out the whole horde in under 10 minutes. Frey knows exactly who. The magic warrior king's successor, the very man he came to recruit. The huge warrior coldly tells them to get lost, unless they want to be killed too, and walks off. Frey calmly repeats David's own promises back to him. Destroy the vocal cords first, then break the limbs one at a time. But Alcone frets. The peddlers use this road, and a monster like that cannot be left roaming it. So Frey volunteers to trail him alone, brushing off her worry with confidence in his concealment. The successor, meanwhile, is drowning in undead. No matter how many he smashes, there is no end to them. An undead boss sinks its teeth into him, and he only sneers. Did it really think its fangs could pierce his skin? Then Frey steps out and questions him, asking how long he has trained in the warrior king's techniques. When Frey admits he is from the Troman rings, the successor snaps, another mutt from the circles that never stop coming. He swears to kill the next recruiter who shows up. Frey blocks his fist with a wall of ice and sasses him right back. Frey tracks down the successor to the martial warrior king, a mountain of muscle who fights exactly like Kasajan once did. The man has no love for the magic circles. He calls them mindless swine who only care about filling their pockets. Frey does not really disagree, but he lays out his plan anyway, to drag the divided circles into one force strong enough to kill demigods. Suddenly, David remembers his manners. He begs for it to stop, insisting he was wrong and terribly, terribly sorry. Frey studies the giant fists and offers his honest assessment. He can see mold growing on them. So they fight. Frey opens with Ice Spear, Windstorm, and Frost Breath, testing the guard. The successor answers with a Boulder Shield and a Bull Sweep that could flatten a house. Frey slips the blow and counters, and for the first time, the giant looks genuinely rattled. Then Frey does the impossible. He throws the man's own Bull Sweep right back at him. Frey turns and runs, and the successor gives chase, bellowing that he was never such a wimp. But mid-sprint, the giant recognizes the footwork, the clown steps, a technique the martial king hands to only one era generation. He demands to know Frey's teacher, and Frey tells him to imagine it. The truce is sealed with names. The giant is Ivan, and he leads Frey off through the forest. Ivan reaches his cabin and announces himself by kicking the door open and screaming that he is home. Frey nearly leaves his body. He really would have liked a warning. Isabel cannot watch and begs the professor to end the match, but Frey points out that David never actually surrendered. Ivan explains that his housemate does not wake for anything gentler. His housemate, Ricky, happens to be a demigod. Then the cabin wakes on its own, purple sigils crawling up the wood and an eye sliding open. Ricky yawns and asks if Ivan brought a friend along. Frey feels the divine power pouring off the cabin and knows at once. Ricky is a demigod, as strong as an apocalypse. Frey grabs Ivan and demands to know why the Martial King heir is cozy with a demigod. Ivan just roars back for Frey to answer him first. The answer lands hard. Ricky is a traitor, and his goal is to wipe out the demigods. Inside, Frey recognizes distorted space folded around the room. Ivan proudly admits he has absolutely no clue what any of that means. Ricky studies his guest and sees it right away. Those are not the eyes of a human who lives under 100 years. Frey asks the obvious question, why would a demigod betray his own kind? Ricky tells him that part is none of his business. Instead, Ricky shares the method. Kill an apostle, its demigod drops into forced hibernation, and then you open its throat with a small knife. The target is Oiden Friedekwood, apostle of Nostos, the demigod who rules death. The road to becoming a mage, Frey says, is not one you walk expecting your enemy to stop the moment things get dangerous. But Ricky cannot be the one swinging the knife. If his betrayal is ever exposed, the whole plan collapses, so he needs others to do the killing. Ivan cuts through the lecture with the only summary he cares about, so they just kill the guy, right? Frey mentions, almost in passing, that he already killed the apostle who wielded lightning. Ricky wants proof, so Frey holds out a fistful of raw lightning energy, and it is unmistakably Indra-own. Then Frey steps out, tears open a portal, and returns holding the severed head of the demigod Indra himself. The room stares. Frey shrugs and notes that killing a demigod is not too difficult, is it? Ricky smiles. Same goals, same interests, and now no reason at all not to cooperate. Frey wants to know why demigods bother creating apostles at all, when the servants come out so much weaker than the originals. Ivan scoffs that nothing in the world could ever erase a demigod. Ricky answers with a single word, God. Not the god humans pray to, but a grand law of cause and effect, an absolute mass of energy that balances the world. Demigods are just fragments that fell away from it. People like David, swaggering around calling themselves magicians, are exactly why the world rotted, so maybe he should never be allowed to cast a spell again, for the good of society. Ivan asks if this god has really erased a demigod or two. Ricky corrects him. Around 20 of them have been sent to oblivion. In 1 month, every demigod will gather, apocalypses and Lord himself included, to hunt the traitor down. Ricky urges everyone to sit and eat first, since he went to all the trouble of slicing the bananas himself. Ivan cuts through the entire lecture the only way he knows how, so they just kill the guy before he hides, right? Ivan unveils his master plan, to fly over the forest and drop in from above. Frey notes that trespassers get caught whether they come from the sky or a tunnel. Ricky admits he is deeply relieved that Frey joined the team, because planning anything with Ivan alone was a nightmare. The Rhinal's forest is guarded by a world tree at its core, linked to every tree into the Elf Queen own consciousness. Intruders do not stay hidden for long. Outside the elf village, the human guards keep things dignified, mostly agreeing that elf women are dangerously attractive. Deeper in the woods, a familiar old spiritualist greets them warmly, calling Frey by his cover name, Cain Rickstone. Ivan handles the diplomacy his way, bellowing at the old hag to hurry up and lead them inside already. Then Frey grins. He is only kidding. Did David really think he would break both of his legs? Frey drops the pretense. He tells Sayax he has known she is a high elf from the very start. And then, plainly, he tells her the truth of it. They need her help. With her disguise dropped, Sayax turns out to be a slender, doll-pretty high elf. Ivan is stunned. The old hag was hiding this the whole time. Frey lays it out. The necromancer haunting the forest is almost certainly a demigod apostle. And the only way it slipped past the forest defenses is if the apostle is a high elf, one the woods would never think to reject. Sayax asks how a man who is not a spiritualist commands spirits. Frey says he learned the art from a dark elf friend. Her name was Camille, the leopardess, a legend every elf has heard of. That she called an ordinary human her friend tells Sayax exactly how ordinary Frey is not. So Sayax decides to trust them and offers to lead the way into the village. Elsewhere, the shadow of the death demigod Nostos recoils at the news. Indra has been killed, and once again no traces were left behind. Nostos warns his apostle to stay wary until the gathering. The apostle bows and calls it his command. He would settle for one. Out of pity, Frey charges a second magic missile and takes careful aim at David's knees. That apostle is Oiden, the elf queen-own elder brother, and he cannot imagine who would ever dare lay a hand on him. The group reaches the heart of the woods and the towering world tree the elves call Hruhiral. Outsiders cannot simply wander in. First, they must stand before the queen and earn her permission to stay. An old elf begs Ivan to mind his manners before her majesty. Ivan insists his martial art trains etiquette too, a bold claim for a man who screams his way through every doorway. Frey reassures Syaks that Ivan is a perfect copy of Kasajin, right down to the way the great warrior always froze solid the moment a woman appeared. Then the queen receives them, Snow Defying, queen of all elves and unmistakably Oiden's sister. And Ivan, exactly as promised, goes completely rigid before her, petrified right down to the bone. The queen names herself Snow Defying, and Frey catches it instantly. The apostle Oiden shares her surname, which means the killer is the queen's own blood. But something else nags at him. This queen is not a high elf, and every elf queen is supposed to be one. Ivan, meanwhile, is a wreck. He decides her skin has the grace of a butterfly, and that Syaks is a goblin by comparison. David finds his voice again after all. It comes out as a scream. He orders himself to stand firm like a boulder before a woman, which holds up for about as long as you would expect. Frey covers for him, greeting the queen in flawless elven custom as a magician of the Cast Cow Empire. She is impressed a human knows the words at all. Dinner turns out to be a basket of raw vegetables. Ivan wails that even goats eat better than this. Frey quietly saves the evening by producing jerky and earns Ivan undying loyalty on the spot. Then Frey stops talking aloud. The elves hear dozens of times better than humans, and every word is being overheard. They cannot simply accuse Oiden. Without proof, denouncing the queen brother would turn the whole village against them. So the plan is patience. When Oiden contacts Nostos, he will leak divine power, and that trail leads straight to the medium they need. And Frey is certain it comes soon. Oiden is a beast addicted to slaughter, and a week with no one dead to kill has left him starving. Syaks staggers home wrecked from a night of royal errands and drops into sleep, sparing no thought for the two men in her house. Alone, Frey reaches into the world tree Hruhiral, hunting its memory of events 4,000 years old and the fate of the friends he left behind. By the next day, the whole academy is buzzing. The trash beat David so badly he went home with ruined legs and a ruined throat. Some students wonder if Frey signed a contract with the devil. He slips into a spiritual world and feels his true shape return. For the first time in ages, he stands as Lucas again. And someone is already there, waiting. She smiles and asks whether she should call him Frey or Lucas instead. In the spirit realm, Frey finally meets Hruhiral herself, the soul of the world tree that holds this whole forest together. She looks at everything he has carried and grieves for him. Such a painful, lonely life for one human to endure. He has only one thing to ask. He wants to know how his friends spent their final days. Kasajin, the martial king, met his end in the Amakan desert. He died locked in a week-long battle with a demigod and dragged it down with him. Frey murmurs that it sounds exactly like the man. Sword King Lucid fell when his homeland, Ecolium, was wiped from the map. When Frey asks about the sage Schweitzer, Hruhiral hesitates and warns him the story will only hurt. He tells her he has to know. So she shows him the vision directly, an aged Schweitzer, cornered and gasping, finally face to face with the traitor. Nobody is too broken up about it. David was, by unanimous agreement, an asshole, and the campus feels much nicer without him. The traitor wears a face Frey knows. Iris Filsfounder, now standing with the demigods. Schweitzer spits the truth at her. Annihilating the demigods was Lucas' lifelong dream, and she betrayed the one man who ever trusted her. Iris feels nothing for any of them. She only found it unpleasant to watch Schweitzer try to fill the void Lucas left behind. Yet there is one thing she refuses to accept. She will not believe that Lucas is dead. Then she cuts Schweitzer down, promising she will be the one to finish Lucas' dream, once the era finally turns in their favor. Dying, Schweitzer calls it all in vain. 4,000 years, and he stopped none of it. His last breath is Lucas' name. The vision fades, and Frey is left in the quiet with all of it. He laughs once, bitter and broken, and curses under his breath. Hruhiral tells him Iris Filsfounder is still alive somewhere in this era, but she warns that the woman may no longer be anyone Lucas would recognize. Schweitzer died apologizing, and that guts him. Frey mutters that he is the one who should be sorry, not that idiot. He gives Hruhiral one last warning before he goes. Tonight, the forest will not stay quiet. Then a fourth-year trainee introduces himself. His name is Domin Milost, and he has been looking for Frey Blake. He surfaces from the trance to find a full day has passed, and the elves are still shadowing his every move. Ivan, for his part, has spent the time grinding out push-ups into the thousands, losing count somewhere past 2,800 and starting over from 1. But he came through on his errand. The guest Frey sent for will arrive once the sun goes down. After sunset, the visitor slips in and greets him like no time has passed at all. It has been a while, Frey. And she hands him the secret that was nagging at him. Queen Snow was adopted, taken in because the royal line had no daughter this generation. Snow is an ice elf from a small northern people of the snowfields, which is why she never read as a high elf. Frey thanks her by name, and the name lands like a thunderclap. Camille, the leopardess, alive after 4,000 years. She agrees to quietly clear the observers tailing him, joking that if it goes wrong, she will simply claim a puny human blackmailed the great leopardess. She also learns the once timid Isabel now runs the magic circles, apparently by screaming at grown mages to love their comrades and never show a flaw. Before she leaves, Camille warns him. Oiden is a gifted spiritualist, and apostles keep that art even after divine power strips their mana. He invites Frey to join the Trauman Rings. Frey goes very still, because that is his own name, the name of Lucas Trauman, stamped on their most exclusive club. Worse, Oiden carries the power of an apocalypse, on a completely different scale from the lightning apostle Frey killed before. And right on schedule, Oiden breaks. The death demigod hunger takes him, and he cuts down a servant, unable to hold his murderous urges back a moment longer. Late that night, Lord Oiden pays Syax a visit, all warmth and courtesy, gently asking how the necromancer hunt is going. A spirit hisses at her not to say it. She says it anyway, cheerfully reporting that the necromancer is hiding inside the village. Oiden decides, in the space of one breath, that Syax now knows far too much to live. His strike never lands. Ivan crashes in and shields her, growling that she would already be dead without him. With the mask off, Oiden sees no reason to keep pretending. He will simply kill everyone who saw. Ivan is unimpressed by the noble airs and tells the Queen Brother he is nothing but a demigod mutt. The truth finally hits Syax. Kind Lord Oiden is the necromancer who has been raising the dead all along. He summons a horde far stronger and far larger than anything Ivan cleared outside the forest. The Trauman Rings, Doman explains, is the elite assembly that represents all of Westrot Academy, not a club just anyone can join. And that is exactly the point. Syax watched Oiden wield divine power, which makes her the living witness that proves he is an apostle. She realizes Ivan baited the noble into exposing himself on purpose. The rude musclehead was running the plan the whole time. Then a pillar of flame nearly takes Oiden's head off, a spell on the scale of 7 stars. Frey strolls in and calls it a simple greeting and suggests Oiden watch his footing next time. He and Oiden fall immediately to trading insults about whose face is uglier, mud included. Syax quietly concludes that all of her new allies are, in fact, horrible people. Then Oiden unveils the rest. He is not only an apostle spiritualist, but bound to a demon, and Frey recognizes that demon like an old acquaintance. Frey sends Syax racing off to fetch the queen, then asks Ivan if his heart still flutters just from picturing her. The demon Oiden bound is no minor imp. It is the Archduke of the demon world, and even Frey would rather not face it head-on. The demon has no loyalty. Force contracted against its will, it openly snarls at Oiden to be silent. Membership means you can pick any career and never go hungry. Frey, who has no family register in this era anyway, politely declines. Frey greets it by its titles. Asura, Archduke of the demon world, ruler of the slaughter hell. Asura yanks Frey mind into another realm, and outside, Ivan is left shaking a blank-eyed body and screaming at him to wake up. This is the slaughter hell, a place where a soul can be snuffed out with the flick of a finger. But Frey reminds the demon of an old debt, of a summit and a view he once granted it. Recognition dawns and Asura laughs. It knows this soul, Lucas Trauman, though far weaker than the last time they met. Bound by that old debt, Asura agrees to grant a single demand. Frey spends it on a question. Where is Iris Phil's founder now, the witch Asura was once contracted to? Asura does not know. Iris cut their contract to deal with the demigod lord directly, and she did it entirely of her own free will. Before she vanished, she was muttering about finding a certain core. And Frey knows exactly which one. Anastasia, the core of Schweitzer greatest golem. That refusal does not fly. The leader of the Trauman Rings himself arrives to recruit Frey in person, Lord Peruin June. There is just one snag. Out in the real world, Asura is still under orders to kill Frey, a detail Frey cheerfully admits he completely forgot. So he plays his last card and offers the Archduke a better deal. Make a contract with me. Frey names his price for the contract, the death of every demigod. And if he fails, he offers Asura the only collateral that matters, his own soul. The Archduke accepts and pledges his power to Frey, impossible war. Frey snaps back into his body, and when Ivan asks where he went, he says he took a short trip to hell. Out in the open, Asura calmly informs Oiden that he cannot kill Frey now, because Frey is his new contractor. Then the demon leaves, tossing back one last insult. Do your best surviving, you poor little puppet. Frey explains he simply bribed the Archduke down in hell. Ivan only wants to know the going rate. Robbed of his demon, Oiden panics and raises a bigger army, this time led by elite bloody knights. Peruin June, the leader of the Trauman Rings, comes to recruit Frey himself. He is quietly impressed by how composed the boy is for his age. Told they are dozens of times stronger than before, Ivan shrugs and calls them slightly tougher sandbags. Oiden bolts for the world tree Hruhiral, planning to seize it and wipe them all out. So they split. Ivan takes the horde, and Frey goes hunting the apostle. Oiden can barely speak for rage. This human dared to steal his Asura. Frey pins him under ice and asks, almost bored, whether he can do anything besides raise corpses. Oiden screams that this is the power of death. Frey tells him it is just necromancy. The true death demigod kills with a breath of purple fog and melts flesh with rain. Oiden, by comparison, is a boy playing with bones. Oiden summons his god through a medium Frey could never find, an artificial eye hidden inside his own socket. And the death demigod answers. Nozdog manifests in full, pressing the air so thick Frey can barely breathe. Oiden begs his master to defend his honor against the humans who called him weak. Frey turns them all down flat. He won't copyright his own name, he says, so they can keep enjoying the club, which leaves Dauman sputtering with rage. Nozdog only sounds amused. He never expected his bait to be exposed this quickly. The word lands like a stone. Oiden was never the true apostle, so killing him would not have touched Nozdog at all. He was a trap, a decoy planted to lure the real traitor out into the open. Oiden cannot accept it. He abandoned everything to serve this god, and he was only ever bait. Nozdog finds the wailing tiresome, and silences his own puppet for good. Then he turns to Frey, unsettled. For the first time in his existence, he cannot read a human mind. That alone is reason enough to be suspicious, so he withdraws, promising to keep an eye on Frey. In the quiet after, Frey calls out a hidden watcher, and Queen Snow steps out, having revealed herself on purpose. She admits she knew all along exactly what her brother truly was. And she hands Frey the secret behind Ricky. He is the demigod of swords, and she stands on Frey's side. Peruan June studies him for a long moment, senses something he cannot quite name, and decides not to push. He simply apologizes and lets Frey walk away. When Frey presses who she really is, she answers, Queen of all elves, and tells him not to joke with her. Then, the ground itself splits, and an enormous magic circle blooms up from far below. Ivan mops up the last of the horde and immediately announces the real crisis. He is starving. Frey reads the huge new magic circle and understands. Nozdog planted a seed inside Oiden's corpse. What claws its way out is an undead dragon, a mountain of rattling bone and green fire. Queen Snow insists on hiding her flashy face behind Jenkin Mask first, because being this beautiful is simply too much trouble. The elves hurl everything they have at the dragon and cannot leave a single scratch. Their village begins to come apart, building by building, beneath the creature. Then, a storm of ice spears falls. So many, the elves assume an entire army of magicians has arrived. It is only Frey. Asked about Oiden, Frey says flatly that he is dead, and that only this scrawny lizard is left. That night, the professor makes good on the bet and takes Frey to dinner. Unfortunately, there is one extra mouth at the table. Isabel has invited herself along. The masked queen throws herself into the fight beside them. The elves erupt in cheers for Lady Sodna of the Hero Guard, their returning hero. Frey notes dryly that her disguise happens to be famous in its own right. Yvonne, who recognizes none of this, just wants to know who the arrogant woman is and decides she is worse than Syax. Snow overhears every harsh word and wonders aloud if they might introduce her a little more kindly. Frey suggests they save the introductions and put the dragon to rest first. The queen agrees. I concur. The elves stare, having never seen anyone fight the way these two humans do. Frey drops the dragon with a gravity explosion that folds the air in on it. With the beast finally down, Ivan states his one condition for victory: someone owes him meat for dinner. She insists nobody should mind her. She absolutely did not trail the two of them across town because she was worried. Absolutely not. A week later, the shattered village stands whole again. Ivan finally puts it together. The queen and that rude masked woman were the same person all along. Snow thanks Frey especially for rebuilding the entire village in a matter of days. Then she answers the real question. She is Ricky Apostle. She is the last ice elf alive, her whole people wiped out by the demigods, and she wants them dead for it. Frey warns her she reveals too much, too easily, in case the wrong people ever come asking. But she trusts him because Mother, the World Tree, has faith in him. To repay that faith, she leads them somewhere no human has ever stood. Mother Own Root. There grows Hruhiral True Body, a tree hung with ripe red fruit. A single one can double or triple a person mana overnight. The professor gets to the point. She has heard whispers of Cassigen's lost training method, something no record in the Mage institution contains, and she wants to know how a first year could possibly know it. Frey pockets his, knowing his frail body would be at death door if he swallowed that power unprepared. Ivan, naturally, eats his on the spot, and the mana nearly tears him apart while Frey scrambles to hold it back. The village throws a festival, and the grateful elves keep hailing Frey as their heroic life savior. He keeps correcting them on one point. He is not a knight, he is a magician. Worse, Queen Snow arranged the whole thank you event and then vanished, leaving him to soak up the gratitude alone. Watching Ivan simply meditate on his mana fruit, Frey admits he almost wishes he had eaten his and collapsed too. Camille arrives with an urgent case, and Frey seizes the excuse to bolt from the crowd. Ivan, meanwhile, is a heap on the floor, and says fighting another dragon would honestly have been easier. The message is simple: they must go see Ricky, who has something to tell them. Snow warps the group straight to the hideout, unbound by the usual rules of magic. Frey dodges the question by leaning in and offering to teach her something far more interesting, somewhere more private. The professor, 20 years his senior, turns bright red. There, Frey confronts the demigod head-on. Oiden was never Nozdog true apostle. Snow nearly stops breathing. Frey is provoking one of the 5 apocalypses. And the demigod simply apologizes, promising to verify his information more carefully from now on. Only then does Snow understand. The provocation was a test, to prove Ricky is a genuine traitor and not their enemy. Business done, Ricky produces a crystal, the one drawn from the demigod Indra himself. Drinking it would vault Frey to 8 stars and hand him Indra lightning, but it would cost him his magic entirely. Then Ricky names the price of the plan: drink it and become my apostle. Ricky lays out the plan. Frey drinks Indra crystal, poses as his apostle, and walks into the demigod's meeting at his side. Frey refuses outright. Trading his magic away for divine power is a fool bargain, he says, because he needs magic to kill the demigods in the first place. Isabel detonates. She orders him to stop behaving so shamefully toward the professor, and is visibly appalled that he is still here. So Ricky changes the offer. What if Frey could wield both magic and divine power at once? It is possible, but only for him, because the Blake blood runs in his veins. The Blake house, Ricky explains, is no noble family at all. It is one enormous demigod testing ground. An apocalypse named Leyrin spent centuries there, trying to make mana and divine power coexist in a single body. After countless failures, that research finally produced the Blake bloodline. And the one who reached out to the demigods was Isaka Blake, the father who never wanted Frey to touch magic. Because of that blood, a Blake keeps his mana even after becoming an apostle. Frey alone could hold both. It leaves Frey wondering whether waking up in this body was ever a coincidence at all. He does not answer. He only asks Ricky for time to think. Far away, the reborn phoenix takes a human shape and swears to keep her own promise, to guard the mountains and his friend dungeon. Later, Frey asks the real question on his mind: who, exactly, is the single strongest person in the entire academy? Then something stirs in her. The dungeon final room has opened, and she knows he has returned. She vanishes before anyone can ask her name, a burning question left hanging in the air. Ivan is horrified to learn the greens beside him were meant to be eaten. He assumed they had sprouted from his own sweat. Alone with the crystal, Frey weighs the real cost. Drinking it might stop him being human at all. He decides it does not matter. If it kills the demigods, he will throw his humanity away. So he drinks, and the demigod power tears through him in a storm of fire. 9 days later, he stands up whole, and Ivan cannot sense a scrap of mana on him. He seems like an ordinary man. But he is anything but ordinary now. He has climbed to 8 stars. With their mission done, Ivan sets off after Kasajin 3 legendary relics to one day surpass the Martial King. Frey explains Ricky offer, and Ivan boils it down to a single word. Frey is now a crossbreed. The answer is Isabel's own aunt, the Academy's director, Lady Cirrus Trisnine, a 6-star mage who earned her title straight from the Empire. Frey has his own plan. In a year and a half, the human circles gather, and he intends to walk in and clean house. He offers to let Ivan join in on the fun. They bump fists and part like brothers. See you in a year and a half. Snow catches up and reminds him, when she is dressed like this, to call her Sodna. She insists on accompanying him back to Ricky. But the moment they arrive, Ricky throws out a frantic warning: do not come in. A Hydra demigod is inside, and it nearly catches the stray mana of the 2 standing at the door. Cornered by the Hydra suspicion, Ricky covers smoothly, passing Frey off as his own apostle. But the Hydra eyes are too sharp. It notices that this apostle is no elf. And in a heartbeat, it puts the pieces together. Ricky is the traitor. A mage's rank can climb to 9 stars in theory, but the last person to reach 9 died 3,000 years ago, and fewer than 10 souls in all of history ever touched 8. To this era, 9 stars is only a legend. Lucas, who was one, now understands just how far magic has fallen. Ricky cuts the Hydra apostle down before it can flee, its blood hissing into the ground like acid. 2 pieces of the creature slip away though, one of them fleeing south. Frey is warned. The Hydra revives, its blood melts flesh, and its only weakness is fire. It has already split itself into 9, and it is still a demigod, so the order is to contain it, not kill it. Frey opens with a lava blast, playing straight to that weakness. When the creature nearly takes Snow down, he throws a barrier between them just in time. The Hydra answers with a rain of venomous snakes, every one of them lethal. Snow buckles under it and apologizes, certain she has failed to buy him enough time. Frey replies by hanging a second sun in the sky. The demigod burns away, and Snow can only stare. He killed one of them, and he made it look easy. He also realizes the barrier protecting the academy was almost certainly the director's work. He needs to meet this woman. 4,000 years alone in the abyss, he had nothing to do but perfect his magic in his head. Now, finally at 8 stars, he can use all of it. For the first time, he lets himself believe it. He can win against the demigods. Snow can only stare. Frey put down a demigod, and that was not even his full strength. But there will be a reckoning. Killing the Hydra will soon reach Ananta, the apocalypse who rules poison. When Ricky presses him to decide, Frey reveals he already drank the crystal. The choice was made. Now he must bury every trace of his mana beneath divine power, so that even Lord will not sense it. Snow says goodbye with a clumsy human embrace, and Frey notes that Ivan would have fainted, foaming at the mouth. He leaves a message for the road. Tell Syax and Camille he is sorry for slipping away without a word. Then comes 2 months of brutal training, learning to move divine power the way he once moved mana. At the end of it, Ricky calls, the sword finally unsheathed, the training is over. But he keeps Isabel at arm's length on purpose. Until he knows how far the demigod's influence still reaches, he refuses to drag an innocent child into his war. Snow was the greatest talent Ricky had ever seen with divine power, and Frey has already surpassed her. With Hydra death still undiscovered, they set out for the assembly, through a warpstone hidden in Pilot. On the road, the red evil bandits leap out and demand a toll for passing. Ricky, baffled by human custom, wonders aloud if these must be the doctors people keep talking about. Then he raises one hand and erases the whole gang in a wash of fire. He did not even bother to kill them, they were simply too embarrassing to look at. And he decides, almost fondly, that humans are the most three-dimensional creatures he knows. Season 2 opens far from the forest, in a hall of human circle leaders, buzzing that the sword demigod has finally moved. Their scouts place him headed for the town of Pilat. Among them sits a young executive of the Stroh necklaces, Heinz Blake, Frey's own brother. He does mention, casually, that he plans to hit 7 stars by the end of vacation, a climb that should take 20 years. The whole table nearly falls over. He got the intel the hard way by eavesdropping on his father Isaka's secret dealings with the demigods. A centuries-old vampire named Rounder Charles eyes him coldly. She does not trust a man who sold out his own father. They puzzle out why a demigod would use a warp stone at all. The answer is his apostle, who cannot cross space freely. Trailing a demigod is suicide, they agree, but an apostle is something they can deal with. So the circles resolve to gather in Pilot and watch the sword every step of the way. Frey and Ricky slip into town, Ricky registering, absurdly, as a lowly D-rank mercenary. Then Frey learns the genius put his real name on the fake papers and quietly despairs. With 3 days until the warpstone opens, Frey heads for the Blake mansion, hunting word of the apocalypse Leyrin. Because his own father, Isaka Blake, is Leyrin Apostle, hidden in plain sight. Out in the streets, Frey notices the eyes on them. The circles are watching through familiars. Isabel finds her own leverage. Keep flirting with the professor, she warns, and she will report every shameful detail straight to her aunt the director. Sooner or later they will come for him, the apostle, since a demigod is far too dangerous to touch. He lets them watch. He is curious now, to measure just how good these circles really are. The circles tail Frey through Pila and watch him turn toward the Blake house. Rounder Charles decides the alias Kane Rickstone smells false and chooses to dig into it herself. She summons an old friend, the succubus queen Lilith, an archduke of the demon world. The task is simple: slip into the man dreams and steal the secret of the demigod gathering. And the succubus queen fails. She cannot pull a single thought out of him. Worse, she senses he is already bound to another archduke and backs off before she is caught. That archduke was Azura, standing guard over Frey's sleeping mind the whole time. Frey, waking, works out who is hunting him, the vampire Charles Roland, the one Ivan once described. And that is when it clicks for Frey. Getting close to Isabel is the fastest road to the one person he needs to meet. It is a headache. The circles are future allies he cannot hurt and cannot explain himself to. At the Blake house, he finds no Leyrin and no Isaka, only his brother Heinz, who shows the stranger around. Frey keeps that to himself. Ricky is still a demigod, and not one he fully trusts yet. The warpstone carries them to Lamab, the largest city of Lupe. But this is not the gathering site at all. Ricky simply has business here first. And still the circles shadow them, recklessly trailing a demigod through the streets. So Ricky decides to have some fun and makes them both bolt like terrified humans just to toy with their pursuers. Frey and Ricky shake the pursuers at last, and Ricky admits the chase was rather fun. Frey's real errand is a mask, one that can perfectly smother his divine power. He goes alone because the cellar answers to Lord, and walking in with a demigod would give everything away. 2 weeks later, David comes back, on crutches, nose and legs freshly healed, screaming that a piece of trash like Frey could never have beaten him fairly. He swears to kill him. A long spiral staircase carries him deep beneath Lamab. The shopkeeper turns out to be a golem so finely made that Frey never sensed her at all. The owner, a man in a worn-out hat, introduces himself as Hector. He produces exactly what Frey came for, the mask that hides an apostle divine power. Then his eye catches Frey's bracelet, and he declares it a relic from the era of light. He begs, shamelessly, for just one touch, until Frey has to tell him to stop making a scene. Frey trades him a question instead, about building a golem around 1,000,000 manticore. Hector says only 3 alchemists on the whole continent could even dream of it. One is the master of a secret 11th magic tower, another an archlich buried in the northern snows. And the third, he announces with a flourish, is himself. Frey does not even look up from his book. He answers the death threat with a magic missile. But he says it bitterly. He too lost everything he had to the demigods. Because once, before they broke him down to this frail little body, Hector was a dragon. Hector explains what became of his kind. The demigods took the dragons, corpses and all, and left him behind as a single egg. They do not simply kill, they bind the soul and make it serve, which is exactly what they did to the dragons. Now he is kept in this shop as a warning, a broken dragon paraded before every apostle who comes for a mask. Frey tells him the look on his face is not sympathy, it is respect. 4,000 years ago, he says, it was dragons who led the war on the demigods, with humans only at their backs. And Frey answers with his master old creed, they have not lost, they are still winning. Moved, Hector offers to forge a body for the golem core Frey has been chasing. For payment, he asks only one strange thing, that Hector speak to him in dragon tongue, which Frey understands. David is sent home a second time. This visit, to get his nose rearranged properly. The body will take 6 months, so Frey is told to return then. Alone again, the old dragon finds himself joyful, surprised such a kind encounter could still happen underground. Back above, Ricky calls Lamable the nation of knights and the most corrupt country he knows. Its ugliest noble, Marquis Dalaman, has built slave camps across a nearby mountain. Slavery never truly died here. It thrives so openly that supply cannot keep up with demand. Frey needs a month of divine power practice, and he has never once hesitated to kill trash. So Ricky gives him a target worth the effort, destroy the trafficking on that mountain. Before he burns it all down, Frey insists on seeing the truth with his own eyes. Inside the fortress, he finds the cells packed with slaves, humans, dwarves, and monsters alike. He learns a girl was killed simply for annoying the Marquis on a bad day. Then, a cocky blonde upperclassman swaggers over. He heard Frey is good at magic, and he did not like what happened to David. The noble treats living people as toys, keeping the prized elves for his own appetites. Frey has seen enough. The answer, he tells Ricky, is right here. He cuts through the guards with Indra lightning, one blinding strike at a time. What disgusts him most is that these thugs wear armor and call themselves knights. Then he uncovers the worst of it. The Marquis has the dead butchered and served to his own table. By the time word reaches the throne room, every last knight is already dead. Frey finds the fat noble cowering and tells him flatly to lose some weight, since he is not a pig. Lightning answers every plea, and the Marquis screams fill the halls. He tries to buy his life, asking how much money it would take. Frey only says he is a little angry now, so this is going to take a while. His name is Alex Drimid. He once reached the round of 16 in a magic tournament, and he loudly declares that today is Frey's funeral. He asks, almost gently, where they should begin, the tongue or the eye. And the tyrant castle lights up with the sound of a reckoning long overdue. With the Marquis gone, Frey turns to the cages and sets the slaves free. But one of them only stares and asks a question he has never been able to answer. What is freedom? Having lost his family and his whole race, the man begs Frey to simply kill him. Frey refuses him pity. He tells the man he has only changed owners and takes him along. Then he makes a vow. For 1 month he will hunt down everyone who did this. For people who have known nothing but despair, he understands, sudden freedom can feel like a death sentence. What they need is not to be told they are free, but time enough to decide for themselves. So the month becomes a campaign, camp after camp burned to the ground. Frey hits him with a magic missile in the middle of the speech. By the end, every slave pen scattered around Le Meuble is gone. And slowly, the freed begin to choose for themselves. The lesson he leaves them is simple, be kind. They decide to build their own village deep in the Hispania mountains where no human can reach. Monsters do not frighten them. Nothing, they have learned, is more frightening than humans, with one exception. Frey shrugs off the credit. He only believed in the unquenchable fire still burning inside them. Humans, Ricky observes, can be worse than any devil or greater than any angel. Then the moment arrives. They have reached the place where the demigods will gather. The demigods and their apostles gather in the god domain. Frey and his people are not the only power that answered the call. The sky splits apart. They have crossed into the demigod domain, and there is no walking back out. First comes Agni, an apocalypse who rules fire. Newcomers are quietly advised to keep their mouths shut. Alex is outraged. You are not supposed to attack, he protests, while your opponent is still monologuing. Agni changes his appearance as easily as changing clothes and settles on something suitably menacing. Each demigod arrives with an apostle at their side, all of them sizing up everyone else's choice. Then comes Liren, the demigod who created the Black Family. None of them have ever seen a female demigod before. Nordog watches from behind a grinning skull, the kind of ally you keep close and never turn your back on. One face they all remember, the terrifying old man they could not defeat even 4,000 years ago with Lucid, Schweitzer, Iris, and Casseron combined. The demigods have finally assembled. The only question on everyone's lips is simple. Is Rod here? Outside the gate, hundreds of Black Dragon Knights have crept in, believing themselves perfectly hidden. They were sent from Longile to bury the evidence of the slave camps. They chose the worst possible room to sneak into. Something answers the intrusion. A monster unfolds from the dark, and the knights understand their mistake far too late. Death is the best gift, isn't it? The words land just as the slaughter begins. His friends charge in, announcing their noble houses one by one. Frey introduces himself right back. He is Magic Missile. Hundreds of Black Dragon Knights erased with a single finger. For these creatures, a massacre is simply entertainment after a long, dull wait. And in the light at the center of it all, the brothers reunite. After so long, Rod has finally come home to them. Ricky presents his apostle, a blank figure whose plain face shifts with every fluctuation of its emotions. Cheer up, Ricky. According to Nordog, they no longer have any reason to fear the punishment of the gods. The reason is a metal Ricky forged himself. He calls it aluminium. Its first purpose was simple, temporarily conceal divine power, so the organizations would stop chasing them across the world. The experiment succeeded, a substance that completely hides its traces even while divine power is being used. No matter how many lives we kill, God will not punish us for it. That is the promise aluminium makes. And soon it will be sold in small, convenient portions, commercially available to anyone who can pay. The skull offers it like a gift, your chance to kill as many pesky insects as you like. Aren't you happy? And he means it. Magic missile, magic missile, magic missile. One flat word per upperclassman, until the whole gang is stacked on the floor. But the others have noticed something. Ricky has changed, behaving strangely ever since Ecolium was destroyed 4,000 years ago. Sword King Lucid, who met his end alongside his Ecolium, is one shadow the past will not let them forget. We are not perfect beings. Ricky admits he began to think differently, and that unsettles everyone in the room. Lord was the first self-conscious body to break free from the law of the world, and Ricky came right after him. To Lord, Ricky is a younger brother. Then the true reason for the meeting surfaces. Someone in this room is a traitor. Lord's solution lands like a slap. Everyone reveals their apostle. The room erupts in disbelief. And in the middle of the chaos, Frey sees exactly what he needs. This is his chance. For Frey, the truth game is a gift. If he can learn who Lord's apostle is, he can finally kill Lord. Agni objects at once. Do not reveal your apostle. Lord is the heart of the demigods. But the others push back. All demigods are equal, and Lord is only a name for the first among them. He sighs at the pile of groaning nobles. So meaningless. At this rate, he worries he might catch their stupidity. Agni relents and decides he will be the very first to reveal. Take off your mask. The order lands, and there is no undoing it. Agni's apostle is a phoenix. He found her in the Obscena Mountains, an individual 10 times stronger than any other of her kind. Next is Genta, the assassin, dragged into the light for all of them to judge. One of the apostles, they realize, is connected to Iris. Laren's apostle is almost certainly someone drawn from the Blake house. The name lands like a blade, Retia Blake, Frey's own mother. One by one, the apostles stand exposed on the floor of the god domain, every secret laid bare. Then Lord takes Ricky aside for a quiet word, brother to brother. Isabel drops by to inform him of his new reputation. After all the bloodbaths, the other trainees have started calling him Death Missile. Even with the power to conquer everything, Lord felt nothing. Power without a purpose, he says, is meaningless. With this transcendent strength, I will protect my kind, Lord vows, and build a world only for us. And then the question that hangs over everything. Why did you betray us, Ricky? This is where the first 100 chapters leave him. Frey holds his move and walks away knowing exactly how the gods are arranged against him. The slaves are free, the Black family is shaken, and the demigods have finally felt that one of their own is hunting them. The war for the world starts here. The great Mage, returned after 4,000 years, is exactly where he always meant to be. Which only frustrates him more. Nobody at this school is strong enough to make him use anything above the weakest spell he owns. It turns out, Isabel took his offhand advice. His 4,000-year-old trick of engraving with troll blood at a 7-to-3 ratio gave her a genuine breakthrough. She now treats him as her teacher, which is news to him, since he never agreed to it. Still, he admits she is talented. Raised right, she could become a 7 or even 8-star mage. So he makes her an offer. Come with him over the vacation, and she can see real battling with her own eyes. He warns it could cost her life. Isabel does not hesitate. She will accompany him. Take her along to his training. The training trip begins, and Isabel turns up hauling a backpack the size of a small house. Women, she informs him, need a lot of things. He would not understand. Their destination is the España Mountains, a range so lethal it is nicknamed a paradise for monsters. Isabel balks. Frey just says, "Yup." To get there, they use a warp stone, a commercial teleport device. Lucas is fascinated. Nothing like it existed in his time. Magic stalled for 4,000 years, while ordinary technology raced ahead, which explains why today's trainees are so weak. The warp costs 10 gold. Frey checks his wallet and discovers his entire fortune is exactly 1 gold. Then he reveals he brought no money on purpose. Comfort makes people lazy, he declares, so earning their travel funds is simply part of the training. Isabel points out that he is saying this while carrying an enormous bag. He insists that is completely different. Women need things. She tells him to shut up. It slowly dawns on them that neither of these two nobles has ever worked a single day in their lives. Luckily, there is a ship that sails free for academy trainees, with free food aboard. Frey is suddenly overcome with love for his academy. Then the crew informs them the ship is full. The next one leaves in 4 days. A dockhand offers them another option, the Corteso, 5 days to their stop and also free for trainees like them. Elsewhere, a pirate crew is plotting a raid. The men cannot stop asking why their captain gouged out a perfectly good eye, just to look the part of a one-eyed pirate. Tonight, they explain they will hit a ship packed with rich brats as it passes the Oskal archipelago, a ship called the Corteso, which is, of course, the exact ship Frey and Isabel just boarded. Captain Mac Martinez welcomes them aboard and mentions, lightly, that pirates do sometimes appear near the archipelago. Not to worry, he says. 2 Empire warships escort them, each carrying a 4-star battle mage from the Magic Tower. No pirate could possibly win. That night, the pirates attack anyway. And the news is worse than anyone feared. Both escort warships and their 4-star mages have already been sunk. The passengers are in disbelief. No ordinary pirates could sink 2 Empire warships. The pirate captain only laughs. A flashback explains why. The pirates were never worried about the escorts because they invited a very special guest for the occasion. That guest is a lich named Lord Dullard, an undying being of pure death magic. His crew is beside themselves. Signing a contract with a lich, they gush, makes their captain a legend who will go down in the history of piracy. The captain agrees enthusiastically. The lich raises his staff and summons 3 enormous ice spears. 2 of them shatter the Empire warships in a single strike. But the lich is confused. He clearly summoned 3 spears, yet the Corteso is still floating, whole and untouched. One of them simply vanished. He narrows his glowing eyes. There is something on that ship. Aboard, Isabel is shaken that the warships were annihilated so easily. Frey stays perfectly calm. They are just pirates, he says. But privately, he is uneasy. The 3rd ice spear disappeared in midair before it could reach them, and it was not his doing. Someone else shielded the ship. Worse, the lich undead mana rattles him. For 1 heartbeat, it echoes the demigod, and 4,000 years of being sealed in the abyss come rushing back. He forces himself to breathe. It is only an undead, not a god. Isabel presses him. If he did not block the spear, then who did? Frey can only answer, who knows? Then the pirates swing aboard on grappling hooks, and the deck dissolves into screaming. The captain counts his prize, roughly 40 children of rich families, enough ransom to never work another day in their lives. He greets his dear little trainees full of money and dreams. The blood-red raiders have arrived. The pirate captain gloats over his prize. This ship, he says, is a treasure chest packed with the relatives of rich families. A confident blonde passenger rises to his feet. The pirates chose the wrong ship, he warns. It is full of trainees who will one day be great mages. He begins to cast, but a pirate hurls a dagger straight at his throat. Nobody, the pirate sneers, agreed to let him finish his spell. The blade bends slightly off course and misses. Once again, something unseen is protecting this ship. The captain, having completely whiffed the throw, insists he missed on purpose because the hostage is valuable. Then he decides to get serious. To make a point, a pirate named Orca grabs a terrified trainee and throws him overboard to drown. The blonde mage snaps. Enraged, he unleashes his magic on Orca. And his lightning simply fizzles out, absorbed into nothing. How? He gasps. His magic did not work at all. Then the true threat unveils itself, a real lich. The entire deck goes silent with terror. Frey speaks up and warns the pirates. No undying being ever strikes an honest bargain with mortals. They are being used. The pirates could not care less. They are pirates, and they love money more than their own lives. Frey coldly measures the enemy. This lich is 6-star at the very least, which is exactly why 2 4-star battle mages died in an instant. This is a disaster. The lich issues an ultimatum. The one who has been blocking his magic must reveal themselves, or everyone dies. To prove he is serious, he conjures a forest of ice spears around the whole ship. Even the pirate captain begins to beg him to stop. Finally, the hidden protector steps forward. It is Peruan June, leader of the Trauman Rings and the strongest trainee in the academy, aboard this very ship. Isabel explains who Peruan June is, leader of the Trauman Rings, son of one of the Empire's 3 greatest houses, and her personal rival for the top rank in the academy. Frey asks if she is bragging right now. She insists, loudly, that she is absolutely not. The passengers celebrate that Lord Parawan-Jun is aboard. Isabel hopes he can save them all. Frey tells her not to get her hopes up. Parawan can barely stand. The Lich is at least 5-star, and Parawan only just clawed his own way to 5-star under the pressure. That he survived deflecting the spell at all is a miracle. Isabel asks if Frey outranks the Lich. Frey answers flatly, nope. Parawan quietly regrets ever choosing this ship. The Lich, meanwhile, is delighted. Such excellent material, and on such a lucky day. He wants Parawan's body for himself. The pirate captain lays out his generous goal. He will safely escort all these precious children to port, for a hefty advance payment, naturally. Parawan makes a noble offer. Take him as the only hostage, the June house will pay double, and everyone else goes free. The pirates refuse, so Parawan promises to drag every last one of them to the afterlife with him. The captain finds himself grudgingly admiring the boy's spine. But the Lich vetoes any deal. Parawan's mana is simply too delicious. He intends to drain it dry and turn the corpse into a puppet. Negotiations collapse. The captain orders every hostage dragged aboard the pirate ship. One leering pirate zeroes in on Isabel. "Wanna come play, cutie?" He swears he is not a bad man. Then he calls Frey a scrawny piece of unburnt firewood and tells him to move out of the way. Frey does not move. Who, he asks calmly, is this pirate to order him around? If he wants him, he can come and get him. The pirate lunges, sneering about who always dies first in situations like this, the ones who cannot read the mood. Frey answers with a magic missile that launches him clean off his feet. "Oh," Frey says, "so you do know who dies first." Parawan-Jun recognizes the technique instantly. That was Frey, the Academy's so-called eternal loser. He is stunned that anyone could bend mana that finely. Even in the middle of a battle, Frey keeps teaching. He tells Isabel to watch closely. Nobody here but the Lich outranks her, so she can defend herself. Right, Miss Mage? The pirates, meanwhile, assume their one-eyed friend simply tripped over his own feet because he was too busy leering. Frey gives them one cold warning. They should have taken Parawan's deal, because unlike him, Frey is not gentle. He has never killed a human before, but these men do not look like humans to him. The pirates answer by swarming him. "Kill him," they roar. Frey opens up with sweeping water magic that scatters the whole crew across the deck. It dawns on the survivors that not one of them is any match for him. Surrounded, he turns their own numbers into a weapon, guiding their blades into each other. "Why," he asks, "are you idiots attacking your own crew?" Then he winds up an enormous sphere of water and sweeps the entire deck clean. A desperate pirate grabs Isabel and holds a blade to her neck, swearing to take her head if Frey so much as lifts a finger. Frey goes very quiet. "You will," he says. "Do what, exactly?" But Isabel does not need rescuing. She charges her own spell in the pirate's grip. Lightning strike. Her captor is fried where he stands. She turns to Frey, glowing with pride, and asks how her skills measure up. Frey can only smirk. This kid, acting all humble and modest when she is actually this good. Unable to win, the pirate captain changes tactics. He assumes Frey is a professional escort in disguise and tries to bargain his way out. His offer is simple. Split the hostages down the middle. He takes exactly half, and Frey can even choose who lives. Frey is disgusted. This man calls trading away half these children a win-win, even after Frey killed some of his crew. Then the terrified trainees start begging Frey to pick them. They offer him money to be spared. It spirals into a full-blown bidding war. 100 golds, 150, 200. Isabel is horrified. Why is he running an auction? The rich brats recite their family names and promise Frey high office once they are powerful. His ears, he says, are beginning to rot. Then he drops the act and teaches them the truth. A mage is a hero who protects the weak and saves others before himself, no matter how deadly the danger. Then, without missing a beat, he turns back to the pirate captain and asks how much he was offering again. "Are you bipolar?" the captain sputters. All this time, the Lich has been silently reading everyone's minds. There is no human, it declares, that it cannot beat. It studies Frey's strange, glowing mana. A skilled magic warrior, it admits, but in the end, only a 5-star. No match for a Lich. It has killed countless magic warriors just like him. "Give up," it says, "and become mine." Frey is unimpressed. "How unpleasant," he mutters. "You talk exactly like the demigod." The Lich casts Living Missile, a coiling spell of dark magic that hunts its target. "Die," it commands. Isabel warns that it is a tracking spell which will never stop chasing. Worse, while it hunts Frey on its own, the Lich is free to cast again. And it does. Enormous skeletal bone hands erupt from the deck to crush Frey as the missile closes in. The attacks converge and detonate right where Frey stood. Isabel screams his name. As the smoke swallows the deck, Isabel throws up a wall of water to shield the others, screaming Frey's name into the haze. Then Frey steps out of the smoke without a scratch, taunting the Lich from behind its back. He turned the tracking Living Missile back onto its own caster. The Lich cannot understand why its own spell is now hunting it. Perun is stunned. On a pitching, unstable deck, Frey dodged attacks from every direction and blinked behind the Lich, reading 5 outcomes at once. Even the Lich cannot do that. The Lich escalates to the ice spears that sank 2 Empire warships. It aims to sink the whole ship. Frey answers by raising an enormous barrier that shields every soul aboard. The Lich cannot believe he is blocking all of it. Perun coughed up blood, stopping a single spear. Frey shrugs off the entire barrage. Enraged, the Lich hurls a colossal ice spear the size of the ship. Die, human! Frey punches straight through it with his bare fist. The Lich demands to know how a mere 5-star could rival it, because, Frey says, he can already see the path beyond 5 stars. Then, almost bored, he tells the Lich to fight harder. He was actually excited to use something stronger than magic missile for once. Then he says the words at last. His real name is Lucas Trauman, returned after 4,000 years, history's strongest mage. The Lich refuses to believe it. Nonsense, it roars. Lucas Trauman is dead. But Frey has already located the Lich's hidden life vessel, the one relic keeping an undying being alive. He destroys it, and the immortal Lich simply dies. The pirates panic. Weren't you supposed to be undying? Why? Then Frey turns his cold eyes on the pirates. Negotiations, he says, have broken down. Every one of them will die here. Frey finishes what he started and puts down the last of the pirates. The blood-red raiders are done. Parawan June watches with open admiration. That, he says, was some extraordinary prowess. Then he bows deeply. Frey saved his life, and he will never forget the favor. A flustered Isabel begs him to raise his head. Perun is baffled. Frey was famous as the most untalented trainee in Westwood history, yet he just killed a Lich that court magicians would struggle against. Was he hiding his skills all along? Frey just shrugs. Who knows? All sorts of things happen as you live your life. Perun invites him to the prestigious June house. Frey answers, if I have time. Isabel nearly faints that anyone would brush off the June house like that. Then Frey immediately asks to borrow 20 gold for the warpstone. Isabel is mortified. He reminds her that she is the one who told him to bring no money. Perun hands over 300 gold as thanks, no repayment expected. Frey pockets every coin, reasoning that he simply has no change. Perun confides that he is trapped in an arranged marriage his father is forcing on him. It is not nearly as glamorous as it sounds. Frey encourages him in his own way. Do not lose confidence, he says. You at least have that handsome face. And please, do contact him if the fiancé has an older sister, or an aunt. Isabel despairs of his obscene mind. Perun bursts out laughing. He cannot remember the last time he laughed like this. At last, a genuine friend. He takes his leave, making Frey promise to visit the June house. He refuses to spend his life as a man who cannot repay a debt. Isabel watches him go with stars in her eyes. That is what a noble should be, kind, splendid, and blessed with such deep pockets. Frey, deeply stung, apologizes to no one in particular for the crime of being penniless. They stop to gear up, and Isabel plays dress-up in glamorous adventuring outfits. Frey tells her to pick practical clothes that will not stink, not fashion. She is deeply offended. He also buys a bag enchanted with subspace magic, able to hold 10 times its own size. Isabel is amazed. Frey acts like it is nothing. Walking the capital, Lucas notes how far technology has advanced in 4,000 years, while magic barely moved. He grows certain the demigod deliberately stunted humanity's growth, seeing people as insignificant insects. One day, he decides, he will simply slap the answer out of the gods himself. At the warpstone, Frey geeks out over how the mana mechanism works. Isabel begs him to stop embarrassing them both. They arrive at Hispania. Some places, Frey observes, have not changed at all in 4,000 years. Isabel promptly throws up from warp sickness, then insists it is only because she skipped breakfast. At a tavern, Frey orders a feast and a beer. The owner refuses to serve a minor. Frey argues that in his day, everyone over 13 drank anyway. The old owner warns them off. Newbies should not challenge the Hispania Mountains. Even veteran mercenaries do not come back unscathed. He lost his own son there. The boy was escorting herb gatherers into the range and never returned. It is, he says, a living hell. Frey, entirely unmoved, simply announces that the meal was delicious. The owner realizes he cannot talk them out of it and gives up. Ah, hell, he mutters. He will not sleep well tonight. He refuses their money. He puts the meal on a tab instead and tells them to come back alive to settle it. Frey thanks him with a straight-faced lie about the delicious sausages and promises to return. The owner vows to have tastier ones waiting. And that night, under the moon, the two of them set off into the Hispania Mountains. Deep in the Hispania Mountains, the monsters come thick and strong. Even barely past the tree line, the two of them are already fighting for their lives. The range, Frey admits, has more than earned its terrifying reputation. Isabel assumes they came here simply to grind for a month. Frey tells her that is not the reason at all. Their true destination is Schweitzer's dungeon, the legendary lair of the great sage, said to grant the power to rule the world. Isabel is not even sure it really exists. But Lucas remembers, his old comrade Schweitzer, waiting for him. He knows exactly where the dungeon lies. The catch is that the dungeon demands at least 6 star power to even attempt. So Frey lays out his plan. He will reach 6 star in 1 month. Isabel asks if he has lost his mind. That climb takes people decades. They find the perfect training ground, a hidden cave behind a roaring waterfall, thick with mana. Frey offers to teach her Cassigen's fabled battling method, warning that one wrong imitation could kill her, so she must only watch. Then he begins, drawing mana from the entire mountain range into a vast, spiraling vortex. With that, the preparations are finally complete. To his surprise, Isabel's own talent outstrips even his predictions. The girl has a ferocious hunger to learn. He flicks her forehead. Pretty impressive, girl. Then, training done for the day, he says the important part, let's eat. Frey conjures a meal, but Isabel is not hungry. He explains that her brain is mistaking a belly full of mana for a full stomach. She has to eat anyway. Over dinner, she opens up. Even back when he was only a bullied nobody, something about his strange willpower always drew her eye. But lately, she says, he feels like a completely different person. He moves as if he knows exactly where he needs to go, without a shred of hesitation. She asks which version is the real him. Frey answers simply, humans do not change, they only grow. It hits her that they will spend a whole month alone in this cave. Frey tells her not to worry, he is not interested in kids. For some reason, that annoys her deeply. He raises a barrier against wandering monsters so they can sleep, and tells her to rest well on their first night. Watching him sleep so peacefully, Isabel admits she really, truly wants to punch him. The next morning, the real training begins, Cassigen's method called battling. He warns her one more time that it is extremely dangerous. He tells her only to watch and begins. Inside his own body, he splits his mana into warring fire and water, a war fought within the tiny universe of a single person. The art is to hold both forces in perfect balance so neither can win, a scale that refuses to stay level. This, she realizes, is what battling truly means. Unable to resist, she tries it herself. She disturbs the balance by a hair, and immense pain drops her instantly, exactly what he warned. Meanwhile, Frey holds that impossible balance as calmly as a quiet meditation. Just who, she wonders yet again, is he really? 2 weeks pass. Frey sits in battling meditation so utterly still that Isabel has been stacking pebbles on him, and not one of them has fallen. Her own training is paying off. She achieves the materialization of mana, standing at the very edge of 5-star in just 2 weeks. Even Frey is stunned. He has never witnessed such inconceivable growth speed. But battling is merciless. The slightest lapse of concentration shatters the balance and drops her, gasping, in pain. She marvels that Cassigen ever devised such a terrifying method, and quietly vows to one day reach the heights of the ancient mages. After 2 weeks in a cave, though, her most pressing worry is a different one. Do I smell bad? Then their protective barrier suddenly shatters. Something has broken in. It is a phoenix, a legendary creature, a genuine divine beast. Isabel cannot believe her eyes. It was lured down from the peaks by the fire mana pouring off Frey's battling technique. Isabel warns that divine beasts cannot be tamed by humans. Frey simply asks the phoenix whether it came here to ask for help. Then he touches its blazing feathers with his bare hands. The beast shows him no hostility at all. Because it is dying. A massive claw very nearly tore its heart out. It is a miracle it is still alive. Which raises a far more frightening question. What could wound a divine beast this badly? Just what is lurking in these mountains? Frey tells the wounded divine beast that he can help, and begins to heal it. The mighty phoenix ends up behaving like a needy little chick, cooing at his side while he works. Frey teases it the whole time. Isabel sees a side of him she has never witnessed, gentle, tender. Even his manner of speaking changed. He seems like an entirely different person. Once healed and playful, the phoenix and Frey end up racing to a distant peak. Loser starves for lunch. A divine beast and a mage, betting a meal. The bird reminds Lucas of an old friend from 4,000 years ago. How nostalgic, he murmurs. Fully restored, the phoenix prepares to leave. Frey thanks it for stirring up old memories and tells it to choose its opponents more wisely from now on. It leaves a parting gift, a single phoenix feather worth a fortune, able to heal grave wounds or forge magic items. The beast, it seems, repays its debts. Unlike a certain someone he has been sheltering for weeks, Frey adds pointedly, Isabel demands to know if he is talking about her. She cannot stop noticing it now, his knowledge, his maturity, the weight in the way he carries himself. He bears himself like a flawless, ancient great mage. Sometimes, watching him, she is reminded of the legendary Lucas Trauman himself. Little does she know. She finally admits she holds deep feelings for him, admiration and respect. Purely admiration, of course. And then Frey does the impossible. In a single month, exactly as he swore, he becomes a 6-star mage. Frey takes stock of his feat. The youngest 6-star in recorded history was 35. A trainee reaching it would send the whole world into an uproar. Now he gathers mana just by breathing. A week without eating, though, has wrecked his body. Isabel offers him beef jerky. He wants real hunted meat, hot and greasy. They find a field of slaughtered monsters. The phoenix had been guarding them the entire time they meditated, repaying its debt in full. Frey bids it a warm farewell. If destiny allows, they will meet again. With no need to hunt now, they can head to the dungeon after a meal. Then a scream cuts across the valley, a human voice, and not far off. A band of men has tied up a half-dead captive and is using him as a target for knife-throwing practice. They are the Skull Axe bandits, camped in these mountains over a month, waiting to ambush some woman, and bored enough to be cruel. As one of them throws for a perfect hit, Frey deflects the blade clean out of the air. Then he is simply standing among them. "Who are you?" they demand. "Using living people as darts," he says, ice cold. "Looks like you were all enjoying yourselves, assholes." The bandits scoff at the talking corpse. Frey answers with magic. 5-star magic, light scythe. Too late, they realize exactly what they have provoked. "Hello, friends," Frey says. "It is time for a lesson." After the fight, Isabel asks if he killed them all. Frey let one escape on purpose. They kept calling one the vice captain, which means there is a captain somewhere to find. She asks if he means to wipe them all out. "He cannot pretend nothing happened," he says, "when these men murdered innocent people." Then he speaks quietly to the demigod. Does it enjoy watching humans hate and slaughter each other? If so, he will gladly ruin its entertainment. A young, dying bandit begs to be saved. Frey tells him he has lost too much blood. The boy only wants to apologize to his father before he dies. Meanwhile, the lone survivor staggers into the bandit camp, raving about a white-haired ghost that reeked of rot and took his comrades' heads in a single instant. The captain reads the signs at once, a battle mage, and one capable of double casting. Captain Karlst orders his men to find the ghost and kill him on sight. He also learns what provoked it. His board men were using a captured mercenary as a dartboard, the escort of a mother and daughter who had come to gather herbs. Because Karlst has been hunting a far greater prize, Sonia Aquareed, eldest daughter of the prominent Aquareed Knight House. Sonia fights back with the Lemobel Kingdom's famed flame sword. Even surrounded and outnumbered, she refuses to let go of her blade. The rumors of that sword, Karlst admits, were no exaggeration. Her captured attendants cry out for her. "Miss Sonia." Cornered but unbroken, she holds her ground, and the bandit captain only grins. Karlst gloats over his catch. Sonia Aquareed, called the Rainstorm, a knight prodigy said to outshine every male heir of her house. But her escort is shattered. Only a wounded knight and mage remain against more than 20 skilled bandits, the worst possible scenario. Karlst asks where her escort mage is. Sonia scoffs. A proud knight house would never stoop to hiring a lowly magician, exactly as he suspected. He leers that men like them rarely get to play with a noblewoman. Sonia snarls that she would bite off her own tongue before becoming their plaything. He does not care. If she dies, her attendants take her place, and after a month starving in the mountains, his men will not be gentle. The wounded Sir Luther swears it would be an honor to die for Lady Sonia. Sonia apologizes for failing them. Her attendants only thank the Aquareed house for the life it gave them. Then the maids beg her for one last mercy, to end their lives by her own hand, so they may meet again in heaven with their pride intact. Weeping, Sonia agrees, for the honor of 2 young maidens and of the Aquareed house. Karlst panics and screams at his men to stop her, but her blade is already falling. And then her sword simply vanishes from her hands, mid-strike, stolen. Refusing to fail them, she orders the maids to bite their own tongues instead. "Lady Sonia," they cry. Then the thief reveals himself, her sword resting easily on his shoulder. The ghost has arrived. Karlst, the bandit captain, strolls up like he owns the mountain. "I have heard rumors of you," he says, bold words from a man about to meet an earthquake. Sonia grips her staff and demands to know if he is the leader. She still thinks this is going to be a fair fight. "What did you do to my men?" the captain asks. Frey answers with a completely straight face. "I took good care of them." Panic sets in. "Kill that wight, head immediately. We cannot give him the time to cast. 20 men against 1 mage. What could possibly go wrong?" "A battle mage is strong," they reason, "but against our numbers he will not stand a chance." Famous last logic. Then the sky fills with spells. What is with this firepower? That is the sound of a plan falling apart. Karlst clings to theory. Even I know a bit about battle mages. In the end, they are still magicians, and he will run out of mana. He is betting his life on a technicality. It is impossible to use magic for such a long time, and yet here we are. Frey pauses to catch his breath. A bandit points and cheers. He is out of mana. Get him now. Sweet summer child. Even Sonia buys it. "Did you deplete your mana? I will help you out." Everyone has misread the room. Frey does not even look up. "Get back. It is dangerous." The breather was bait. The ground detonates. "It is an earthquake," someone screams. It is not an earthquake. The entire bandit camp goes down howling into the collapsing earth. Turns out he had plenty of mana left. Sonia stares into the fresh crater. Unbelievable. He annihilated them, all 20, in a single move. The breather was the scariest part. Sonia does the math. That earthquake should have been a 5-star spell, and he cast it while fending off 20 mercenaries. Then it clicks. Every attack before it was a diversion. He was buying time for the trap the entire fight. I had never seen or heard of double casting like that, she admits, until I met him. Introductions begin. "I am Sonia Aquareed of the Lemobel Kingdom," she says, every inch the noble. Frey keeps it short. "I am Frey Blake. No bow, no flourish, no interest." Sonia is scandalized by the lack of a proper greeting. No courtesy? Isabel apologizes on his behalf. He is a little inexperienced in manners. Frey, genuinely baffled. What is wrong with my manners? The fallen mercenaries cannot all be carried to the city. Frey shrugs and says he will take them, then lifts the entire loaded wagon into the air with magic. Sonia watches a wagon drift up into the sky like a balloon. My goodness. She finally gets a good look at him. You are only 20? I thought you were 30 at least. Frey could not care less about the insult. 20 or 30, who cares? Sonia has to know his secret. Just how did you gain such skills and such power? Frey raises a single finger and delivers 4,000 years of wisdom. Effort. The answer to that is obvious. Sonia insists on repaying the debt. Frey waves it off. No need, we help each other to survive. But she will not drop it, so the perpetually broke noble knows exactly what to ask for. Then buy me dinner. I know a place with extremely delicious sausages. Sonia turns up her nose at the shabby pub. This does not look like a place nobles would frequent. Frey defends his taste. Everyone knows the run-down places make the best meals. The old tavern owner greets Frey warmly. I see you have returned alive. It is nice to see you again. Then Frey mentions there is one more person who made it back alive. The old man goes still. Kazan, are you Kazan, his son, the one everyone had given up for dead? Father, the young man says, the reunion the tavern owner had stopped letting himself hope for. I am sorry for yelling at you and leaving, the son says. His father only shakes his head. Now that you are alive, none of that matters. Meanwhile, Sonia demands to know who Frey keeps calling a drag. You, he says flatly, I am calling you a drag. To give the reunion some privacy, the owner clears the entire pub. Everyone, stop munching and get out. After a long, overdue bath, Frey exhales. I finally feel human again, now that I am clean. Sonia catches sight of his arms, mapped with old scars. Do you have so many scars? Frey is entirely unbothered. They look cool. Then he points and delivers the thesis of his entire existence. Traces of effort. Over dinner, the bomb quietly drops. Sonia is the daughter of the Aquareed house. Frey nearly comes out of his chair. The fiancée, the daughter of the Aquareed house. His friend Peruin is engaged to her. That night, Frey looks up at the moon and grins for his old friend. Peruin, you lucky bastard. Sonia gives her farewell with a hopeful question. Will you come visit the June house? Frey shrugs a yes, and for once she beams. I will be waiting for you. On the road, Isabel mutters that someone of Lady Sonia high lineage took a liking to somebody. That Peruin brat must have burned all his luck. Frey misses the point completely. I was talking about you, Isabel snaps, not Lord Peruin. He just stares back, genuinely baffled. Isabel throws up her hands. You are so dense. There it is. Then he points at the distant peak. That is where Schweitzer Dungeon is. A drake wheels across the black sky above it, truly worthy of its name. The Drake Mountain. Isabel pales. Are you saying we will have to fight the drakes in there? Frey answers almost wistfully. How nice it would be if that were true. The Drake King, he adds, is a few dozen times larger than the rest. Isabel sits straight down in the dirt. He warps them deep into the Hispania Mountains, a place where anything can happen, a living hell. Then, with no warning at all, he flings Isabel straight at a lurking monster, trial by fire, taken literally. Are you crazy? Why did you do that? He could have just told me, she fumes in midair. She lands face to face with an ogre, bloodshot red skin, 3 eyes, a mutant. Isabel answers with a roaring fireball, and Frey nods. She became a lot stronger than I expected. But the flames do nothing. The ogre skin evolved a resistance to fire, likely from living beside the drakes. Even the monsters here level up. Frey offers exactly 1 hint and lets her sweat the rest. If fire does not work, then use ice. Watching him work, Isabel says it out loud. Frey, you really do remind me of the great mage lord Trauman. She has no idea how right she is. Even her strongest ice spears cannot fully pierce the mutant hide. Jeez, how tough. How can you be so easygoing, she shouts, while she does every bit of the fighting. Its bones and skin reinforced like steel, Frey observes, fascinated. This is not the moment to be amazed, she snaps. Why not just bury it with an earthquake like last time, she asks. Because that would ring the dinner bell for every drake on the mountain. Instead, he teaches her a special, digging technique for exactly this situation. She is baffled he is throwing weak ice spears again. They say, he explains, you should only dig a single well to succeed. Then it finally dawns on her. The spears were never attacks, they were digging a pit. The ogre crashes straight into it, bellowing. Stop shouting so much, Frey scolds the monster. I said we needed to be discreet. Frey, use another spell now, she begs. Quiet, he says, counting under his breath. I am concentrating. Then, perfectly calm, it is over. A mountain of ice erupts and skewers the mutant where it stands. See that, he says smugly. It is best to just dig a single well. Isabel has no words left. But all that racket did its job too well. A drake descends from the sky. You gathered every drake on the mountain, he sighs. And so they run again, the journey with no time to rest. Cornered by the drake, Isabel drives an ice arrow straight into its eye. Then Frey clamps a hand over her mouth. Shush, stay quiet. Something far worse has arrived. The Drake King. Even Frey knows his limits today. This is not an opponent I can beat right now, so let us wait for it to leave. 2 weeks of non-stop monster fighting later, his mind is finally back in full sync with his body. But there is still one thing left to do here, the most important thing of all. Let us go, Isabel. He recites an old friend directions from memory. A mountain that pierces the clouds, a lake at its peak, and a little island on that lake. Frey, just who are you? She begins to ask. Found it, he says, cutting her off. The island rises straight out of the clouds. What a magnificent place. The real dungeon is buried beneath, many times larger than the island. This whole island is just the front door. It looks humble, but is secretly extravagant, just like the man who built it. The entrance turns out to be a tree the size of a tower. Subtlety was never Schweitzer's strong suit. Inside, a staircase spirals down into the dark. He even made stairs, Frey notes. How considerate of him. As they descend, Isabel almost asks the question that has been burning in her. Frey. Then she swallows it and blinks the thought away. There is no way. Do not bother with these useless thoughts. A sealed door blocks the way. Force it open, Frey warns, and Schweitzer's own spell will obliterate us both. He touches the seal, and a grinning young man pops out of thin air. Ta-da! 1, 2, mic test. Welcome to my dungeon, the apparition announces. A message the great sage recorded in mana long ago. As noisy as ever, Frey mutters at it. You are supposed to be a senile old man. You clearly cheated on your looks in this recording. He says the name like an old wound reopening. Schweitzer Stroh. Isabel reels. Schweitzer? This young boy is the legendary great sage? The voice is exactly as he remembers it, but it cannot hear him answer back. I truly am the only one left alive. Then the grief hardens into something else. But the ones who did this to us still rule the world. My enemies are still alive. The recording sets its test. What do I, Schweitzer Stroh, hate the most? Frey does not hesitate for a heartbeat. Demigod. Ding ding, correct answer. The seal swings open at once. Isabel grabs at his sleeve. Frey, just who are you? And how could you possibly know that? He dodges every question. Stand around like that and you will die. Do you want to get stronger or not? Focus. Let us see, he says, stepping inside, whether the beginning waits for us in here, or the end. At each new door, another Schweitzer appears, a little older than the last. He ages every time we pass through, Frey notes. The rules are strict. Take only one item, answer every question perfectly, or the cute little golem guards turn very unfriendly. The questions turned strange. One is about Iris, the Black Witch. What an annoying woman, Frey grumbles. I could never understand witches. The recording marvels that Lucas never once noticed the Black Witch throwing herself at him, some grand master of humanity. How can a man be this dense when a woman adores him? Frey, they agree, is exactly like Sir Lucas that way, if only they knew. 6 arms, 6 weapons, the coexistence of all things. Asura, Frey answers before the recording even finishes the question. Correct. Then it clicks. The reason Schweitzer keeps aging as they go deeper is because this entire dungeon is his diary. None of the questions are about magic at all, Isabel marvels, and you are even stranger for knowing every single answer. The final room holds the oldest Schweitzer of all, white, bearded, and frail. He speaks of Lucas one last time. It is my life's greatest pride and joy to call the Grand Master of Humanity my dearest friend. Me too, Frey whispers to a man 4,000 years gone. You are also my dearest friend. Now for the last question, the old sage says, what is my real name? Wilsaman, Frey answers softly, a name only his closest friend in the world could ever have known. Head inside, everything here was prepared for you. Take care of everything, Lucas. As the message fades, Frey reaches out for once. Wait. And Isabel finally hears it. Just now, the great sage Schweitzer called Frey by another name, Lucas. The final room is no vault at all, but a cozy little study someone could actually live in. Isabel holds up a tiny vial. What is that? Frozen River, Frey answers. A legendary elixir, 1 drop forming every 1,000 years, said to blast a person's mana channels wide open. She had always thought it was only a myth. I absolutely need this, Frey says, if I ever want to reach the 7-star stage. Then she finds a pair of earrings. What a pitiful design, Frey scoffs at his own handiwork. Typhoon earrings. I made those. He forged them 4,000 years ago and handed them to Schweitzer on a whim. Who knew the old rat kept them safe all this time? Then, at last, he says it plainly. I am Lucas Trauman. 4,000 years ago, I rebelled against the demigod and was sealed in the darkness of the abyss for every one of those years. Until one day, a single voice reached him in the dark. Frey Blake called out to me and gave me this body. It is an impossible story, Isabel admits, and yet, oddly enough, that far-fetched excuse explains absolutely everything. So she bows low before him. I present my heartfelt greetings, Lord Lucas. Just call me Frey, like always, he says. It will help me reach my goal. And please act normal, he adds with a wince. You gave me goosebumps just now. Testing a relic later, Isabel nearly slips. That is an amazing mana boost, Luke, Frey. Who, he deadpans, is this Lucre supposed to be? And on the desk lies his friend's last written line, about the day it all ended. Lucas vanished. Frey opens his friend diary and reads the very first line. Lucas vanished. Schweitzer had known the truth all along. Nobody could erase Lucas without a trace, he wrote, other than the demigod himself. Left alone, Schweitzer could trust no one. Behind every bow of respect, he wrote, they were only waiting for him to die. Lucas reads page after page of the lonely, endless battles his friend fought for years without him. The entries grow smaller and sadder. I am sorry. I could not do it. I am sorry, Lucas. I only understood how lonely you must have been, he wrote near the end, after living it myself. Frey grips the page and makes a vow. I will inherit your loneliness and your will. Watch me. I will punch the demigod square in the face. One page remains. To whoever reads this, complete Anastasia, my greatest masterpiece. Anastasia turns out to be a golem core. Schweitzer already mastered puppeteering, so what on earth could he call his masterpiece? A memory surfaces. You are calling this thing a golem? Young Lucas howls at Schweitzer, lopsided first attempt. You should never make golems again. Schweitzer got his revenge with a fireball straight to the face, and Frey almost smiles at the memory. Finishing Anastasia, he realizes, will reveal everything that happened during his 4,000 years lost in the abyss. But the moment they step outside, the Drake King is perched and waiting. Were you waiting for me? Frey asks the beast. The overlord of the entire mountain, the Drake King. The Drake King speaks in a human tongue. I already know you are an intelligent monster. What an interesting one. I was waiting for you, it booms, giving its name. You, who strode fearlessly into mighty Torquenma territory. Isabel notices something wrong. His voice is shaking. I have never seen Frey this nervous before. The beast confesses its game. It lets travelers into the dungeon, then devours them for whatever treasures they carry back out. The dungeon my friend loved more than his own life, Frey seethes, and you turned it into bait for your stomach. He stops asking questions. You need a little beating. Isabel, run, he orders. I am honestly not confident here, so go. That is exactly why I'm staying, she fires back. These kinds of humans taste the best, the Drake King grins. Now allow me to eat you. Frey answers with Schweitzer's own staff, catching the dragonfire before it can land. Earth wall, a slab of stone rears up and swallows the flames whole. To force Isabel clear, he turns cruel on purpose. Do you not understand? You are only a hindrance, you leech. Go. Lesser drakes swarm in, but he ignores them. Killing small fries changes nothing. I have to end this with the big one. He drops into a casting stance and does the math. I need 3 seconds for explosion, and the beast exact flight path. 3, 2, 1, 0. Now, explosion. The smoke clears and the Drake King is unharmed. That was impressive, human, it says, but your power simply is not enough. That barely tickled me. And behind the Drake King, a whole swarm of lesser drakes blackens the sky. Frey weighs the little vial in his hand. Do I have to drink the frozen river right now? But the elixir is no quick tonic. It needs a full week to control. Drink it mid-battle, and it is simply suicide. Cornered, staff in hand, he can only curse. This is very bad. Then fire blooms out of nowhere, and a familiar shape dives in. The Phoenix! Run, Phoenix, Frey shouts. This is not a foe you can face. Its flames do nothing to a fireproof Drake. He is your natural enemy. Just run away, idiot. But the Phoenix knew the odds and came anyway. It is buying him time, with its own life. You are telling me, Lucas Trauman, to run away, he murmurs, humbled by a bird courage. It was never his weak body or his fated magic. My resolve, he realizes, my determination was what was lacking. I am sorry, Phoenix, and thank you. Now I will never forget my resolve again. Death is always beside us, he tells himself. It is an everyday occurrence. Then he uncaps the frozen river and drinks, and the whole mountain hears him scream. The frozen river tears through him. He can only scream as its raw power floods his body. The Drake King recognizes the bird. No wonder you looked familiar. You are the divine beast that once escaped my jaws. A phoenix, it gloats, licking its teeth. A priceless prey has walked right up to me. The wounded phoenix slips away. No matter, the Drake King shrugs. On this mountain, our paths will cross again. Frey finds the battered bird resting by a waterfall. It is all right, he says gently. I can help you. How nostalgic, he murmurs, healing it. An old friend of mine used to act exactly like you. But absorbing the elixir alone nearly breaks him. Schweitzer, I am sorry. I have wasted my second chance at life. Maybe it was never energy I lacked, he wonders through the pain. Maybe it was resolve. Then a warm aura wraps around him, and his strength begins to flow back. What is this? Stay still, says a familiar voice. Isabel, why are you here? He breathes. She came back with food and water. You said you needed them to absorb the elixir. She shrugs. She had gone all the way to the village. I do not know what you are trying to accomplish in this world, she says, but I trust you. You are the only one I trust. So please, she adds, never call yourself alone again. Even though you can barely look after yourself, she teases. Thanks, is all he can manage. And at last he understands. What he lacked was never resolve or courage. It was trust in the people still alive beside him. From the cave pours a terrifying cold. What is that energy? The Drake King snarls. The phoenix strikes the beast square in the eye. You dare, it roars, wounded. A mere bird, daring to blind the great Torkunda. It is beyond furious. The phoenix is on death's door now, but it refuses to stop grinning at the dragon. Then the Drake King feels the cold coming closer. Just what, it whispers, is happening in that cave? For the first time in 1,000 years, its instincts scream a single word, run. The all-powerful Drake King finally learns an emotion it never knew, fear. Impossible, it tells itself, fleeing. The great Torkunda, afraid of a measly human. I only need to wait for my eye to heal. But the mere human catches up to it in midair. Impossible, it gasps. Measly human, it spits, swinging blindly at the cold. Your arrogance weakened you, Frey says, slipping into the blind spot the phoenix carved. 1,000 years old, and you rely only on your eyes. He hammers it again and again from the side it can no longer see. Bastard, it screams. Both of them are gasping now, but only one is still standing. The overlord of the entire mountain stares at him in disbelief. Are you truly a human? Frey, you cannot, Isabel cries. You are on the verge of collapse. Do not force this fight. Is this your greatest attack? The Drake King sneers. Then let us end this, Frey answers. This is the breath that felled the phoenix, it roars. A mere ice human like you is already dead meat. Fire and ice collide in a blinding burst that shakes the whole mountain range. It is almost beautiful. Slowly, Frey is forced backward. There is nothing I can do to help him, Isabel despairs. The beast crows its victory, then freezes mid-laugh. Where, it asks, did the human go? In a single instant, Frey had slipped behind it. Unbelievable, Isabel breathes. He actually killed the 1,000-year-old Drake King? Just how strong was Lucas Trauman in his prime? 1,000 years of eating humans is not the same as real combat, he tells Isabel. Against strong foes, you need tactics, not just power. The whole clash was a bluff. He spent most of his mana slipping behind the beast to forge a single ice scythe. But the phoenix that saved him has already breathed its last. Frey kneels beside the small body. You saved my life, he says, so I will revive you. He pours the fire from Torkunda's heart into the bird. As a phoenix, it can be reborn with all this energy. Then he gives the reborn phoenix a charge. Rule these mountains, so no new Torkunda ever defiles my friend dungeon. I leave it all in your care, he says under the moonlight. I look forward to the day we meet again. Back down the mountain, they arrive in the city of Kosymphony. The salamander cloak looted from Torkunda Nest, another of Schweitzer works, is quietly stabilizing the frozen river cold inside him. The storage bag is stuffed full. They may be useless, Frey admits, but I could not leave my friend keepsakes to rot up there. We were only in Hispaniola a week, Isabel marvels, and yet it feels like several years have passed. With a day to spare before any ship leaves, they decide to visit Lord Perwin Estate, which happens to be nearby. The gatekeeper is unimpressed. And your name? Frey Blake, he says. What an insolent brat, the man mutters. But Perwin had left standing orders. If Frey ever comes, treat him exactly as you would treat me, with the utmost respect. This little brat, the gatekeeper thinks, staring, is the young master only friend? Then a carriage rolls through. The young lady has returned. Out steps Perwin's little sister, Lady Lilia. You are truly gorgeous, Isabel blurts. Even as a woman, you take my breath away. The carriage rides on and on. We are past the gate and still cannot see the main house, Frey notes. Just how large is this estate? You look nothing like my brother described you, Frey tells her flatly. Your hair is white, not the ashen gray I heard of. How is my brother doing at the academy, she asks. No idea, Frey shrugs. He is 2 years above me, so we rarely ever meet. Lilia studies this strange, blunt young man. Is my brother truly friends with him? At the estate, Perwin himself is waiting. Welcome, Frey. You are late. I have been waiting for you. I am exhausted and starving, Frey groans. I can tell, even without you saying it, Perwin laughs. Lilia watches, quietly amazed. I have never seen my brother smile this happily before. Frey casually calls Lilia princess and she storms off flustered. My sister anger is always a mystery, Perwin sighs. You saved my fiancé in the mountains, Perwin says warmly. He means Lady Sonia, who made it home safely. Sonia trains her sword relentlessly, earning the title Rainstorm. She is wasted on you, Frey jabs at his friend. House rule, Perwin explains, leading him inside. Every guest must first greet the head of the family. How is Count Blake these days? The old lord asks. Frey, only borrowing this body, has never met the man in his life. This is Shepherd June, one of only 5-7 star mages in the Empire, and master of the 4th magic tower. A man of that rank, Frey realizes, might actually know something about the demigod. Then he spots the mark on the Lord's skin. I am certain of it. That is Schweitzer magic tattoo. The Lord makes a request. He has been researching a certain magic and wants a young mage fresh opinion on it. Frey sends Isabel off to help Perun and goes to meet the old Lord alone. Alone with him, the 7-star mage eyes glow cold. Reveal your true intentions now, Frey Blake. What are you scheming? The Lord gets straight to it. Why has the Traman rings come to my estate, and how boldly you wear those in front of me? He means the typhoon earrings on Frey's ears. Oh, Frey realizes. These. Their wires cross. Frey thinks he means Perun's student club. Perun invited me once, he says, but I hate being tied to any group. So you are simply a wanderer, the Lord concludes. You may lower your guard. I will, Frey replies, once you lower yours. A proud one, are you not? Just where do you think you are? My friend house, Frey answers evenly. The Lord tests him with a question. Even the greatest human empire is a tenth of the continent. Humanity is not truly its master. There is another master, he says gravely, a transcendent being that rules the continent from the shadows. Demigod, Frey says before he can even finish. The Lord freezes. What? They are the true predators who rule human society, he goes on. It may sound like mad conspiracy to a young man like you. But Frey's heart leaps. In my time, only 5 of us ever dared to oppose the demigod. For the first time since returning to this world, he thinks, I finally see a light of hope. He may be an ally, Frey decides, but that is exactly why I must not reveal who I truly am. Not yet. They could wipe every species off the world on a whim, the Lord warns, and still have power to spare. There are no more than 100 of them, but each one is a being close to a god. 4,000 years ago, he finishes, 5 heroes once stood against the demigod. Frey knows he was one of the 5. He names the 5 heroes. Great Sage Schweitzer, Magic Warrior King Cassigen, Blade King Lucid, Black Witch Iris, and Great Mage Lucas. After the Great Mage vanished, it all unraveled. 2 heroes were split apart, and the Black Witch erased every trace of herself. Only the Great Sage kept fighting to the very end, but he could not face the demigod alone. It matches Schweitzer diary word for word, Frey thinks. This man knows the buried history. I can trust him. Our circle, the Lord explains, inherited the will of those heroes, but over time that will fractured and split apart. Now they are countless feuding factions, keeping each other in check. The Stro necklaces, the Fistfounder armlets, the Lucid swords. The Magic Warrior King title still passes to one heir at a time, he adds, but nobody knows where that heir is now. The Academy Club is only a front, he reveals. The students never learn of the real circles hidden behind the name. That is why I tested you. You walked in wearing Lucas' own typhoon earrings. I thought you would come to declare war. I got lucky and stumbled onto Schweitzer Dungeon, Frey says. Schweitzer Dungeon, the Lord gasps, and the diary was truly inside. To prove himself, Frey lets the typhoon earrings roar to life around him. What do you think? His list of tasks only grows. Learn the circles, master the frozen river, and finish Schweitzer Golem, Anastasia. At the banquet, Isabel twirls in a gown Lady Lilia lent her. Frey, lost in thought, does not even notice. A month ago, the Lord says quietly, someone made contact with the demigod itself. Who? Frey demands. Who was it? Your father, he answers, Isaka Blake. Frey works the room, flattering a puffed-up noble into an invitation. Such an easy man to manipulate, he thinks. My plan is going smoothly. Then, a familiar voice cuts in. I finally found you, Frey. Sonia has come to the party too. Isabel and Sonia immediately start sniping at each other. Why are you always so mean to me? Sonia huffs. Then a smug voice interrupts. Well, well, if it is not Frey, I never expected to see you somewhere like this. The trash of the Blake house, he sneers. No need to check my memory, Frey decides. He is just a jerk. You do not belong here, the noble says. This is Perun June party, the finest of them all. Get lost. I will not repeat myself. Get lost, Frey says. You already repeated yourself, he adds. The noble sputters. He turns to charm Sonia, then hears her name. Sonia Aquareed, Perun fiancé. His face drains of color. Suddenly all grovels. He begs her pardon for failing to recognize Lord Perun own fiancé. Then he pivots straight back to Frey. But this one is not worth your attention. So you are the infamous Frey? Your siblings are magic tower masters, he jeers, yet Count Isaka banished you. Hard to believe you share their blood. Isabel snaps. No one at this entire banquet could reach Frey's ankles in skill. Apologize for insulting him. Apologize? To Frey? The one who should apologize, he scoffs, is whoever invited this nobody in the first place. Then Perun himself steps up, smiling coldly. Oh my, I seem to have offended you. He is the one who invited Frey. I am the one who invited Frey, Perun says. Patrick's face falls apart. Oh my, I was not the guest you were expecting. I did not realize I needed the Deersty House permission to invite my own friend. Frey is my most valued guest tonight. Perun leans in with a cold grin. If this were not a party, he tells Frey, you would already be dead. Patrick and his cronies scramble away, groveling. We apologize for the disturbance, Lord Perun. You are more vicious than I thought, Frey notes. I was only imitating you, Perun shrugs. I am gentle and kind. Then Perun turns serious. The power you showed on the Corteso, if the world knew of it, no one would call you the Count Trash. Someone vouched for you, Perun reveals. Heinz Blake, your second brother, is one of the Stroh necklaces, like me. I know what your family did to you, he says gently, but Heinz is different from Count Isaka and Michelle. I do not plan on returning to the academy, Frey says. Are you serious? Perun asks. There is no reason for me to stay. Isabel overhears and freezes. If Frey leaves the academy, then what am I? What should I even aim for now? On the balcony, Perun opens up. You must be the genius of the century, Frey says. A genius? Perun muses. That might be true. I first sensed mana at 5 years old, he confesses. I reached 4, star at 17, though the records claim 20. Frey, he says, I have never told anyone my honest feelings, but I will, just this once, because it is you. Then the quiet truth. I think of my talent as a curse. Perun speaks of an old instructor, a 6-star mage who answered his every question with a kind smile and a pat on the head. Then one day, I asked a question he could not answer, he says. He shouted and called me a monster. It was not anger, Perun realized, but terror. His teacher feared how fast the boy was surpassing him. That terrified face haunts him still, a curse that stops him whenever he pushes forward. Every day he curses his own talent. If only I were ordinary, he whispers, then no one would ever have called me a monster. Stop being so cheeky, you punk, Frey cuts in. There is a height no mere genius can reach, the pinnacle of magic. Let one jealous, unworthy teacher hold you back, he warns, and you will never reach that pinnacle. By the time we meet again, Frey vows, I will stand many times higher than I do now. Then Frey names it outright, demigod. So you know of him too, Perun breathes. Humanity can still defeat him, Frey says. If you truly want to, aim not for comfort, but for the pinnacle of magic. The day we meet again, Frey grins, I will be the one ahead of you. Now that, Perun smiles, is the attitude of a friend. At dawn, Frey sets off alone, and Isabel races after him. Were you really going to leave your baggage behind? You called me baggage and burden, she says, yet history, greatest mage, stands right before me. Why would I ever take another teacher? I will not repeat myself, she declares. Walk the road to hell if you must. I will follow you to the ends of the world. Elsewhere, the Blake family takes note. Perun calls the trash a friend now. Perhaps, they scheme, we can turn that to our advantage. Frey turns over a strange token marked 8. Duke Shepard gave it to him, a qualification to test into the secret circle. A secret organization built to fix the world. Joining it is his best path to learning more about the demigod. The most terrifying kind of rule, he tells Isabel, is the kind no one can even see. People become content slaves who never realize they are controlled. That, he says, is humanity today. You lost to the demigod, Isabel says. I never lost, Frey corrects her. I am in the middle of winning. They arrive at a towering magic tower. Half a year remains until he can join the circle. Until then, he must stabilize the frozen river inside him and train his way back to his old strength. He is startled to see dark elves walking the city. Why, Isabel asks. Elves and dwarves travel freely among humans now. This could never have happened in my day, Frey marvels. 4,000 years ago, elves never left their northern forests. At the tower, he becomes a legend for the wrong reasons. A bizarre man who dances all day and haunts the library all night. But Isabel can read it now. He strikes faster than the eye and snaps back, so his deadly martial art only looks like a flowing dance. A proud dark elf spars him and loses badly. You are weak, human, he spits, and his own master scolds his poor manners. Are you a magic warrior, they ask? I am a magician, Frey says. A magician? Those are not a magician movements at all. The tall dark elf plants himself in Frey's path. I am Liamson, fight me. Liamson corrects himself. I did not mean fight, spar. Right, a spar. The elder dark elf introduces himself. My name is Camille. A pleasure to meet you, Frey. This human moves exceptionally, Liamson insists to his master. I only wish to test myself against him as a warrior. Frey answers them in fluent Elvish. You can speak our tongue? Camille marvels. A little, Frey shrugs. You talk like our clan elders, Camille says. I could say the same of you, Frey replies. An elf studying human magic. Liamson strikes at blinding speed, and Frey blocks it clean. He blocked it, the elf gasps. Soundless shadow steps, Frey notes mid-fight. The whole art lives in that impossible agility. You move like a wild beast, Frey tells him, and he means it as praise. The crowd cannot believe it. That white-haired human is trading blows evenly with Liamson, their next leader. That is enough, Camille finally calls. Any further than this, Liamson, would be meaningless. In the wild at night, I would have been overpowered, Frey admits. But you are not used to real hand-to-hand combat, are you? Liamson throws his head back and roars with delight. He has not had a match like this in a very long time. Why the third magic tower? Camille asks. There's an elixir I must brew, Frey says, and this tower has the most specialized books. The best books need clearance, Camille explains. Pass the reading rights exam first. When can I take it? Frey asks. Tomorrow. Frey arrives for the reading rights exam. That frail human fought the dark elf evenly, people whisper. And why is a magic warrior taking a book exam? Camille and Liamson come to watch. Frey, let us fight after this, Liamson says. You mean spar, right? Frey corrects him. The floor masters arrive. The one in the center is Mikkel, they warn. He is the real deal. The first exam sounds simple. Create an energy ball, then compress it. Smaller than this, Mikkel says, holding up a marble. The size of a marble, the applicants blanch. One by one they fail. It is impossible, they groan. No one can compress it that small. Freyball simply vanishes. Did he give up, the crowd wonders? Unbelievable. Do not rely on your eyes, Mikkel snaps. Feel the mana. He compressed it beyond what any eye can see. In private, Mikkel guesses his rank. You have reached the 5-star stage, have you not? I will not deny it, Frey says. Do you know of the demigod, Mikkel asks quietly. I am aware, to a certain extent, Frey answers. Traces of the apostles were found at Utiano. Humans chosen by the demigod, wielding divine power. They call themselves the apostles. Fanatics now gather around them, praying to the demigod. Nothing like this existed in my time, Frey thinks. The demigod is using humans. Villages will burn if nothing is done, Mikkel warns. Would you accompany us on the investigation? Then Mikkel reveals his own relic. A relic of Iris, Frey realizes. So you belong to the Fistfounder armlets. I have grown distrustful in my old age, Mikkel admits. And then I met you, a young man wearing the typhoon earrings. The floor master Mikkel had chosen Frey for a reason. Long ago, he met a young man wearing the typhoon earrings, and he never forgot him. Departure to investigate Utiano is a week away. Until then, Frey has to keep the frozen river inside him from going haywire. He also wants to brew an elixir, and for that, he needs to learn some alchemy. Mikkel points him to Professor Adelia, the genius alchemist of Westrad Academy. Her lab looks less like a workshop and more like a place where science went to have a breakdown. Adelia lays down one rule. She is busy, exhausted, and has dangerously low blood pressure, so state your business in 4 words or less. Frey answers, brew a mana potion, exactly 4 words. He is a fast learner. Then he hands her the ingredient, the Drake Heart of Torkunda, still humming with power. 100,000 mana. Adelia nearly loses her mind, because a core like that should not exist. She shouts that it is completely insane, while grinning like a kid on her birthday. Her words and her face are having 2 different conversations. The recipe needs a rare catalyst too, a phoenix feather. Frey happens to have one of those lying around. It also needs an assistant skilled enough to compress a mana ball to the size of a fingernail. Frey does it on the spot, revealing he is wildly overqualified for the job. Adelia immediately tries to recruit him. Become my assistant, she demands. Frey refuses without a second of hesitation. She schemes to leverage his grades as a student until he mentions he already dropped out. Her hopes deflate on the spot. But Frey has his own agenda. He probes her golem knowledge, asking how one would build a golem around 1,000,000 mana core, the exact problem he must solve to finish Anastasia. Her answer? You would need ores that only exist in legends. Frey spars with the dark elf Liamson and has finally gotten used to his movements. Liamson insists Frey just got lucky. Isabel, meanwhile, has become the dark elf's beloved teacher. Her lessons are so clear, the whole clan has opened their hearts to her. Adelia delivers the mana elixir, and it turned out too good. The potency doubled, which sounds great until she adds that a bad sip will melt your bones without a trace. Frey thanks her with a parting gift, a pendant called Eid's necklace. Adelia completely misreads the moment. She panics that a teacher and student mustn't do this, that the world won't allow it, while Frey stands there baffled. He was only giving her a tool to measure mana more precisely. Her romantic meltdown was entirely self-inflicted. Then Frey drinks the doubled elixir himself, bone-melting risk and all. The mana floods through him and holds. He has made it. 7-star. The Dark Elves explain what that means in the human world. A 7-star is an Archmage, guaranteed a count title in any nation. His name would be carved onto the Imperial slate, recorded in history itself. But Isabel tells them Frey called all of this only the beginning. His real target is far harder than fame or a title, the demigod. He means to take the world back from it. The group travels to the village of Holbridge, where traces of the apostles were detected. Frey feels it the moment he arrives, a sickening divine power he has not sensed in 4,000 years, strong enough to make him want to throw up. And it makes him curious, just how powerful are the humans the demigod chose with its own hands? Holbridge is a village of under 500 people, self-sufficient and cut off from its neighbors. A perfect place for the apostles to work unseen. The old floor master worries the mission is too dangerous for Isabel. Frey waves it off. Despite how she looks, she can handle herself. The mayor greets them warmly and introduces himself as a lad, inviting them to ask anything they want. He swears nothing has changed, just a small village, the same quiet days as always. But Frey notices the problem. It is broad daylight and the streets are empty, like an abandoned town. He presses a lad who insisted nothing had happened, yet cannot explain where everyone went. So Frey sends Liamson to scout the area. Liamson finds no one alive and traces of blood everywhere. Then the trap springs. The demigod's creatures reveal themselves and move to kill them all. Camille answers with a firewall, and Liamson cuts the rest down. The dying creatures cannot believe it. They receive the demigod's power directly, yet the dark elves slaughter them with ease. Camille steps up to interrogate the captured mayor, telling Frey to watch her spirit magic carefully. She summons Dark Gorun, a spirit made for tearing information out of a person's mind. The truth comes out. Every villager was killed as a sacrifice, used to create the creatures and unlock the power of the apostles. Then Alad's body detonates, a failsafe wiping away the last witness. The mayor was brainwashed to blow himself up before he could reveal too much, exactly the kind of thing a demigod's apostle would arrange. Mikkel wants to retreat, warning the apostle may be beyond them. Frey refuses. They press forward. The others insist on waiting for Honor Lucas, a 7-star magician, because facing an apostle without him is suicide. Frey simply says he will replace him. Mikkel scoffs. The 7-star stage is the stage of fusion, forcing opposite elements together into an explosion, not something a boy could reach. So Frey fuses fire and ice in his bare hand and shuts the old man up. Mikkel can barely believe it. This 20-year-old will stand in for Honor Lucas after all. They find a charred body in the ruins. It was not burned by fire, it was scorched by lightning. Which points to the truth. The Apostle's master is a demigod who wields lightning. Then Mikkel shares the crucial discovery. When an apostle who carries a demigod's power is killed, the demigod itself is harmed. It is a genuine weakness, and it is new because 4,000 years ago, apostles did not exist at all. The forest ahead is completely dead, every tree and insect drained of life. Frey is disgusted that anyone would treat nature this way. Mikkel says breaking the barrier would take 2 days. Frey scans it and announces he is already done. A single windstorm tears the barrier apart. Mikkel quietly wonders if it is time for the next generation to replace them. Then the apostle steps out, radiating divine power, and Mikkel goes pale. It is the very ally they were waiting for, Honor Lucas himself. Honor Lucas is no puppet. He greets Mikkel as an old friend and scolds him for not waiting like he was told. He became an apostle by choice. He fires a bolt of divine power at Mikkel with a calm farewell. Frey steps in and blocks it. Frey tells Mikkel to get a grip. This is no longer the man he served, and he is not being controlled. He is moving of his own free will. Lucas explains why he turned. He finally grasped the demigod's power and decided resistance is pointless. To him, humans are nothing but fleas before a god. Frey cuts him off. Humans are not fleas. Lucas simply surrendered. Lucas argues the others in the circle know the demigod's power too. They do not fight on because they feel no fear. They fight on trembling legs, forcing themselves upright step by step, teeth clenched, refusing to fall. They resist without surrendering, to protect the people they love. Frey calls that the true honor of being human. And Lucas threw that honor away. Lucas sneers that training and study are meaningless. Just accept the demigod's gift and command pure lightning no magic can copy. As the storm clouds gather, Frey lays out his answer. Diversion tactics. He assigns everyone a role. Liamson holds the front, Camille supports, and Mikkel may only shield the group, never attack. When Camille protests the danger, Liamson tells her to save the nagging for after they survive. He will happily listen to it all night. Then Frey unleashes his real power, and the earth itself begins to quake. Even Mikkel wonders just who this young man truly is. Lucas boasts that no matter how strong Frey is, he cannot break through the demigod's lightning barrier. Fireburst, Ice Slasher, every direct hit fizzles against it. Lucas calls it futile. But Frey tells the worried Camille not to fret. Everything is going according to plan. The plan is simple. That thundercloud feeds Lucas an endless supply of power, and while it exists, he is invulnerable. So it has to be destroyed. Frey makes himself the bait and hands command of the others to Isabel, trusting her with his life. Camille steadies herself. The outcome of this whole battle now rests on their shoulders. Frey privately admits Lucas is beyond the 7-star stage. Without that divine barrier, he would already be dust. Lucas suddenly understands. Frey's attacks were never meant to land. They were meant to block his view. His team is going straight for the thundercloud. Enraged, Lucas turns on the support group and strikes them down, leaving Mikkel coughing in the dirt. Liamson shrugs off the blow and yells at Frey to stop worrying and focus on the apostle. And Camille swears they will absolutely blow that shitty thundercloud out of the sky. Lucas sneers, asking why these young ones insist on digging their own graves. Frey decides this is no moment to save mana. He will pour out every last drop to become everyone's shield. He shouts for Liamson to run, and lets a massive lava blast loose. The lava blast leaves a giant crater, but it drains Frey completely. He has used up every last drop of mana. Even Liamson stares at the devastation and wonders if this is Frey's true power. Lucas emerges and gloats. Burning through all your mana in a fight is a rookie mistake, the difference in their experience. Frey just drops into a martial arts stance. He can still fight without a shred of mana. You pathetic old man. And the blast did its real job. Lucas' barrier has become unstable, so Frey refuses to give him a moment to recover. His bare fists actually land. Lucas, who shrugged off every spell, doubles over in pain. The apostle is stunned. Are you really a human, the same as me? Frey answers coldly. Lucas is not human anymore. He is just the demigod's mutt. Am I losing? Lucas thinks in disbelief. Unacceptable. He clings to one truth. As long as the thundercloud exists, his mana is inexhaustible, and he only needs to wait. But behind the fight, Camille has nearly finished charging. Just a little bit more. Then the thundercloud is torn apart, and Lucas' endless well of power vanishes with it. Frey stands over him as he begins to crumble. Lucas, it is your loss. The apostle cannot accept it. Against measly humans, he lost. In his final moment, he reaches out and begs the demigod to save him. No answer comes, and he crumbles away, abandoned by the god he served. Dying, Lucas explains why he turned. The demigod promised to end disease, lift the limit on human lifespans, and raise humanity one stage higher. Anyone who resists is just in the way of that progress. Frey has heard enough. If he is done talking, they can end this. But Mikkel begs his old comrade to reconsider. Lucas only tells him not to pity him. Mikkel insists their hearts are the same, both wanting to save humanity, and pleads for Lucas to fight at their side again. Lucas refuses. He has come too far to turn back now, and his body begins to detonate. The blast drags Mikkel down with him. Camille breaks down in tears. Why did someone with such a kind heart have to die like this? Something about this world is wrong. Mikkel's final words stay with Frey. Next time, it might be you, or me, but you must keep fighting. Even left all alone, fight until the end. From the Apostle's remains, Frey recovers a strange crystal. He plans to bring it to Professor Adelia and put it to use. Camille quietly apologizes for her state. It was the first time she watched a companion die before her eyes. A lighter moment. When Adelia turns up, Camille flatly refuses to call her a guest, and Adelia has to swallow the insult. Frey is summoned to meet Julian Montalivo, the master of the third magic tower. His report left out one thing. He never revealed the apostle was Lucas, the tower's own vice master, letting the man keep his honor in death. Asked about Mikkel's final moment, Frey honors him, a man of conviction whose last breath was full of honor. Then Julian makes an offer, become Mikkel's successor and take up the role of floor master. Julian sweetens the offer. His brother Michel made floor master at 26, so Frey would be the youngest in history. A mansion, a private laboratory, huge funds, rare items and materials. Frey listens to it all and politely declines. Camille nearly faints. He is refusing the offer of a lifetime. Adelia later rips into him for it, calling him a moron. Frey tunes out the lecture and sighs that his ears are bleeding. Then he shows her his souvenir, an apostle's crystal, and casually mentions he beat the apostle. Adelia had assumed he barely escaped alive. She examines it, stunned. It is packed with the demigod's divine power. Processed correctly, it would make an elixir the Drake heart cannot compare to. True to form, she screams that it is completely insane, then happily agrees to take the job. At the circle, Frey meets honored Dujanzar, whose personality is every bit as ugly as his face. Dujanzar screams at him, demanding the details Frey left out of his report and calling him a moron. Frey shuts him down with a cold stare, asking if he really needs to repeat himself. Dujanzar backs off. Then, a familiar face appears. His second brother, Heinz Blake, the one who once vouched for him to shepherd June. Heinz warns him not to pick fights on impulse. Dujanzar holds a high seat, and a burst of temper is not worth the trouble. He also has a warning. Their house will soon send people to bring Frey home, and he tells Frey to refuse them. The reason is grim. A month ago, it came out that someone contacted the demigod. It was Isaka Blake, their own father. Frey stays wary, wondering aloud why Heinz is suddenly playing the caring older brother. Frey reflects on Heinz. He carries Frey's memories, if not his feelings, and Heinz was one of the reasons the old Frey gave up on himself. He will not resent the man on Frey's behalf, but it disgusts him how Heinz warmed up only after Frey became famous. Heinz offers no regret and no apology. He only says, truly, he wishes Frey had never learned magic. And he leaves a warning behind. Do not trust the circles too much. Soon after, the Blake family butler Alexandro arrives, exactly as Heinz predicted, to escort Frey home to the Count. Rather than start a scene, Frey plays the timid boy, stammering that he has important work and cannot possibly leave yet. The butler leaves half convinced, muttering that the young master really has changed a little. Adelia hands over the finished elixir. The crystal's lightning energy was a nightmare to process and cost hundreds of gold in equipment. She waves off payment and instead demands he become her assistant. Frey agrees, in his next life. She also gives him a bottled lump of raw lightning energy, warning him never to release it carelessly. A hunch says he may need it. Frey drinks the elixir and meditates. The power is beyond his expectations, letting him turn his whole body into a vessel for mana. That night, he shows off a new contract, a dark spirit called a Darkming. Camille completely melts at how adorable the little creature is. By now, he has stabilized the frozen river inside him, learned spirit magic, and gathered more on the demigod. With all of it done, Frey decides it is time to prepare to leave. But first, a visitor arrives at his door, a green-haired girl named Benyang Argento, the circle master of the Traman Rings. Benyang gets to the point. She came in person to recruit Frey for her circle, before he has even taken the entrance exam. Circles sometimes scout exceptional rookies themselves, and she warns that the others will come for him soon too. His duel with the Apostle is already the talk of the circles. Even the 3 great circles and their executives want him and Isabel. Frey knows an unusual amount about dragons, because 4,000 years ago, as Lucas, his own master, was one. Benyang confirms his guess. She is a half-dragon, a hybrid of dragon and human. What impresses Frey is her honesty. She laid out the Traman Ring's desperate situation without sugarcoating a word of it. That kind of person cannot lie easily, a noble character for a circle master to have. His real aim is bigger than any one circle. He is not looking for a place to grow, but a focal point where the scattered circles can gather and unite. Sure enough, more recruiters appear. Jerome Werner of the Lucid Swords and Steve Jack of the Stro Necklaces, all chasing the same rookie. Steve Jack hands Frey a warp scroll linked straight to the Stro Necklace's base, asking only that he visit after touring the Traman Rings. Frey tells Isabel to stay behind. This next errand he will handle on his own. He promises Benyang he will be back soon, and she says she will be waiting at the tower. A bald old elder leads him deep into an eerie forest, far from prying eyes. Then he drops the act, sneering that no one would ever scout a fraud like Frey. He demands proof that a mere brat killed an apostle. Frey lights up his aura and offers to be the judge of that himself. Duganzar sneers that beating one apostle proves nothing. Does Frey really think all 7-star mages are the same? Frey agrees they are not, then proves it, weaving attributes into his mana in a way the old man cannot match. He strips away Duganzar's pride. All the man has is an absurd well of mana. Everything else about him is insignificant. Duganzar hurls a flame wave, and Frey cancels it outright, having read the spell before it even formed. Beaten, Duganzar asks if Frey will kill him. Instead, Frey seals him in ice. Melt it by dawn like a true 7-star, or reflect on why you could not. He will not die. The ice thaws by morning regardless, but the humiliation will cut deeper than death, and Frey genuinely believes he can grow past it. Back at camp, the mood softens. Frey cooks stew over the fire, and the half-dragon Benyang cheerfully asks for seconds before anyone else has finished. Benyang shares hard-won lore. The demigods have ranks, and the strongest of them all is called the Lord. Above the rest sit 3 monstrous demigods they call the Apocalypses: Sword, Poison, and Death. 2 years ago, the Death Apocalypse killed her father, Osel Argento, the previous Circle Master. Frey keeps a secret to himself. He personally knew the Poison Apocalypse 4,000 years ago, and that geezer was terrifyingly strong. They reach the Traman Rings forest, protected by a barrier Benyang's late father built with his own hands. Frey privately gauges her. Her father was at least an 8-star, and Benyang herself is around 6-star, remarkable for a dragon raised on human methods. The Circle's hideout turns out to be a shabby, run-down village, hardly worthy of the name. And there is worse news. While Benyang was away, the Traman Rings lost an artifact war to raiders shaped like hyenas with basilisk tails. The raiders took the red ring. Frey recognizes it at once. It is one of the 7 rings he forged himself 4,000 years ago. The culprit is Rounder Antoine, who strolls off with the loot, mocking the Traman Rings and promising to visit again soon. It is all part of the Relics Tournament, where circles wager priceless heroic relics against each other in open competition. Frey can barely believe people gamble away ancient relics like toys, especially since these particular relics are his own handiwork. And the Circle cannot simply refuse. Backing out would brand them uncooperative and choke off their future entirely. The truth is grim. The Traman Rings are a 10th of their former size, 1 bad season from being dissolved and absorbed. Frey grumbles to himself that all they seem to do is complain, and only after recruiting him. At the towering statue of Lucas Traman, Pian asks if Frey admires the great mage. Frey, who is Lucas, shrugs. Not particularly. He is blunt with them. With their skills, they could join any circle, so why stay on a sinking raft bailing water with a broken bucket? Pian answers that every circle exists to honor the hero it admires, and they will not abandon that belief just to survive. Long ago, magicians, warriors, and witches despised each other. Lucas alone treated them all as comrades, chasing the same peak of magic. Persecuted his whole life, he never yielded, and built a world where all magic users accepted one another. That is why the Traman Rings still exist. Pian adds that Lucas would surely want to unite the circles again, and that he must be proud to have such successors. Hearing his own legacy honored by strangers who never knew his face, Frey is quietly, deeply moved. Then he slips away with a plan. He has been asking one pointed question: whether an outsider is allowed to enter the Relics Tournament. At the Basilisk's tail hideout, the raiders are already scheming to finish off Benyang and seize the Traman Rings for good. Then Frey strolls straight through their barrier and dismisses it as a crappy mosquito net, which does wonders for their mood. He challenges them to a relics tournament and puts up his stake: Gungnir's dagger, a mithril relic from the Era of Light. Rounder Antoine cannot resist a prize like that. He accepts, privately planning to kill Frey mid-match and pocket everything. The rules are brutal. You may bet more relics, and you are allowed to kill your opponent without hesitation. Their first fighter laughs at a magician facing a magic warrior head-on and vows to end it with a single punch. Frey drops him instantly with a no-chant ice arrow, a mere 2-star spell, before the man can even swing. They realize it was vision magic, no chanting needed, but it should burn through an extreme amount of mana. So Antoine assumes Frey is nearly empty and greedily pushes for more rounds, betting the Calvin Stone and Wing Boots. Frey calmly raises the stakes, wagering the stolen red ring and his Gungnir dagger against them. Antoine's plan is simple: turtle up, stall, and drain the last of Frey's mana. The second fighter hides behind a barrier and crows that he has won, right up until Frey shatters it and puts him down. With 2 men beaten, Antoine steps onto the stage himself as the final opponent. He gloats that after 3 vision castings, Frey's mana must have hit rock bottom. Then Frey buries him under a storm of ice. His mana was never running out at all, and Antoine can only stare in disbelief. Antoine cannot accept losing to plain ice arrows. Frey offers 2 explanations. Either he is too powerful, or Antoine is simply too weak. Beaten fair and square, Antoine throws out the rules. He orders his men to kill them both and take everything. Frey tanks the ambush head-on. Since they struck first with intent to kill, whatever he does next is, legally, self-defense. He and Isabelle drop the entire group. Frey calmly calls it exactly what it is: self-defense. He has no respect left for Antoine, mocking a so-called leader who only ever hides behind his men. When Antoine lunges, Frey answers with a no-chant windcutter and stops a hair short, noting he almost killed him. Then the real master of the basilisk's tail arrives, a witch named Pellic Obeert. One look at Frey and she freezes. The sheer pressure squeezes her heart, and she knows what would happen if he truly meant harm. To her own men's horror, Pellic drops to her knees before the young stranger. She admits the Circle's founding purpose was noble, to free humanity from the demigods, beings who can erase cities with a flick of a finger. But Frey calls out the truth. They abandoned that cause for power and influence. He freezes the ground solid beneath them all. Pellic begs, offering to obey any command and even give her own head, if only he spares the Circle. Frey stops her before she can throw her life away. A master like her, he decides, might actually be useful. He orders every relic stolen from the Traman rings returned, the red ring among them. Then one more demand: the location of every small and medium circle in the area. Frey has started building something bigger. Benyang waits anxiously at the gate, fearing Frey walked into the basilisk's tail alone. Gazellen gently assumes he simply abandoned them. Then Frey strolls back in, as if he would ever leave without saying goodbye. He finally tells Benyang his true goal. He plans to erase the demigods from this world. For that, he needs real power, and the circles cannot provide it while they squabble and try to swallow each other. So he wants the Traman rings to become the central pillar, a force that commands even the 3 great circles. As proof of intent, he lays out every relic the circle had lost, all recovered. In a single day, he had already subdued and unified the 6 small circles nearby, all now sworn to the Traman rings. Benyang asks if it is truly possible. Frey gives his word and swears to put his own life on the line to reach the peak. The next morning, she gathers the circle and presents their new rounder, Frey Blake. To the grumbling members, Frey is blunt. None of them have the right to object. They were so unqualified the executives had to hand the seat to a total newcomer, and he tells them to reflect on that. Then the challenge. Anyone who so much as grazes his clothes gets his post and the Typhoon earrings, a relic forged by Lucas Traman himself. Pion reads his plan, 2 goals at once: to test the members' talent and to draw every bit of their resentment onto himself. He is also shielding Benyang, taking the backlash for the unconventional choice she was forced to make. The first challenger, a magician named Pio Guntar, refuses to budge. Frey offers to fight with his hands in his pockets, and Pio answers with a fireball. Pio's fireball is answered by an identical fireball from Frey, cast without a word of chanting. The onlookers realize their new rounder is at least a 6-star, reproducing a spell down to its finest detail. Instead of gloating, Frey teaches, fire magic's true worth is its destructive power, the greatest of any attribute at the same level. Pio's flaw was wasted effort. He obsessed over making the ball a perfect sphere instead of raising its raw power. Frey shares a memory of a disciple long ago who grew strong only by learning the duality of fire, and to be fearful of it. Pio lost, yet walks away delighted. In one exchange, Frey saw exactly what he lacked, and the members start saying the rounder knows the way. The next challenger, all arrogance and no respect, gets flattened in an instant. By the end of a single day, Frey has completely captivated the entire circle. He lays out the plan: 3 months to raise every member's strength, himself, Benyang, Gazellon, and Pian included. After that, a friendly competition with the newly allied circles, framed not as a fight, but as a way to cement their bonds. An overwhelming victory there, he says, will be the first real step to reviving the Traman rings. Then he takes Benyang aside with a hard truth. She was taught the human way, forcing a mana room into a body that never needed one. Dragons draw on the mana of the world directly. To free her real power, he has to destroy that false mana room.